Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/Entitled Parents. Karen refuses to pay for textbooks. My kid has just started high school, and since it's the beginning of the school year in Australia, there's plenty of parents who are adjusting to how high school works. There's specific rules about pickup zones, no stopping zones, parking zones, etc., mainly to keep the kids safe when crossing the busy road outside the school. Enter Entitled Mom, who for the last few days has decided the rules don't apply to her. Entitled Mom has a very large SUV and parks it squarely in the 2-minute drop-off zone, over 2 spaces I might add, at approximately 2:45 p.m., waiting there until her kid comes out after 3 p.m. I tend to arrive early and park off to the side and read a book, so I've been observing her arguing with the duty teacher every afternoon with amusement. Yesterday, I saw Entitled Mom's kid, clearly not new to high school, in the senior uniform, so I'm guessing that Entitled Mom is just a pain in the butt about parking in general. Until today, that is. I went into the office at 2:30 p.m. to pay some school fees and sort out some admin stuff. I was less than impressed when I saw that Entitled Mom was already at the counter, so I just sat down and waited. A side note here, we pay something called the Resource Scheme annually, which means the kids get up-to-date textbooks and reference material. This is non-negotiable, and a student really can't participate in schoolwork without this in place. Entitled Mom was not shy about her displeasure about having to pay it. It seems that the scheme has gone up to $15 this year to allow for newer textbooks to be purchased. But Entitled Mom wasn't just upset about the extra $15. We've got Entitled Mother, we've got Office Lady, and we've got Deputy Principal. Entitled Mom. This is extortion. My daughter is taking the same subjects as last year. Why does she have to pay again? Office Lady. The resource scheme is payable as part of the school fees to ensure your daughter gets access to the best reference material. She doesn't need it. She got senior textbooks from the student who graduated last year, and she can just use those. I'm not paying it. Office Lady. Those textbooks were supposed to be returned. The student who sold them to her will be billed for those textbooks, and some of them are not being used this year. We have upgraded to new science textbook. Extortion. There is nothing wrong with the old textbooks. You just want to make more money. Office Lady. Mrs. Entitled Mom, the new science textbook covers certain subjects in greater detail than the old one. Your daughter won't be able to complete classwork with an outdated textbook and will have the old ones confiscated. Entitled Mom. You'll steal them from her? To get more money? This is disgusting. Entitled Mom continues to rant about things that are only barely related to textbooks until the Deputy Principal overhears and comes out of his office at the other end of the building. Deputy Principal. Mrs. Entitled Mom, what's the problem? This criminal is threatening to steal my daughter's textbooks. Principal looks at Office Lady, who just shrugs. Mrs. Entitled Mom, the school participates in the resource scheme, where the students return textbooks at the end of the year and are issued curriculum-appropriate texts for the new year. This ensures that all our students have access to... Oh, so I'm paying for other students. Entitled Mom breaks off into another rant about how if parents can't afford books for their kids, they shouldn't be allowed into the school. It was at this point that the principal suggested they go and talk in his office. My transaction took about 10 minutes all up, and throughout it all, I could hear Entitled Mom tearing into the principal. After completing my business, I wander back out to my car to wait for my kid. At about 2:55 p.m., Entitled Mom comes storming out of the office and discovers a parking flyer under her windshield. Not an actual ticket, just a flyer that advises safe parking zones, etc. The duty teacher has a stash to give to new parents who aren't sure where to park when picking up/dropping off. I had the delightful opportunity to watch Entitled Mom lose her crap over a piece of paper until her daughter appeared and then drove off, exceeding the 40-kilometer-per-hour speed limit. Alas, if only the local police had been on patrol, it would have been the cherry on top of a very entitled Sunday. Do you think it's necessary to have an updated textbook every single year that students have to pay for? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Entitled Couple Threatens Us with a Lawsuit. Me again from the good old animal shelter. This one may tick some of you off, but I just want to preface by saying all I'm doing is reporting on what happened. As I've said before, animal shelters are magnets for the entitled, and this story is no different. Now this happened towards the end of last December. Our shelter got in what we refer to as a unicorn. That means we got a young French bulldog puppy. To a county animal shelter, this is extremely rare, as these dogs usually come from breeders or puppy stores and will go for up to $4,000 a pup. It's like finding a brand new Ferrari in a thrift store. Of course, the moment this dog is in our system, we have a line of people already wanting to adopt it. Now, our county shelter has a policy where we hold any stray animals for 72 hours to give any owners a chance to reclaim their lost pet before the pet becomes property of the county and we look to rehome them. The first day this Frenchie was in our shelter, we had 8 different families put their names on a list to adopt. Our shelter is a first-come, first-served shelter, so we would call the first name on the list, and if they didn't want the pup or couldn't take them, we would call the second, and so on and so on. Pretty much, these people were in a line to adopt this one pupper. Now, this story happened the last day of the stray hold period, before the dog was even ours to adopt out. 2 men walk in together. They are the entitled couple, eager to adopt a new pup for their new apartment they just moved into. So we've got the entitled couple, and we've got me. Me. Hey there, how y'all doing? Entitled couple. Good, we are looking to adopt. Me. Awesome, dog or cat? Entitled couple. A dog, please. Me. Okay, and what kind of dog are you looking for? We would like a small dog, please. Well, I'll let you know we don't have any small dogs available, but I'll take y'all through the kennels and we'll see if any of our dogs catch your eye. I take them through the kennels, and of course, what we have the most of are pits and bully breeds that are usually not allowed in an apartment. I keep trying to ask them questions and show them dogs, but at this point, they're just ignoring me and talking to each other. Of course, as we walk through the kennel, they see the Frenchie, and that's when they lose it. Entitled couple. Oh my God, that's the one we want. Me. Oh, well, this little guy has a pretty long waiting list on him. I point to the sign on his kennel, saying he already has adopters lined up for him. Entitled couple. No, we want him now. Me. Well, I can put your names on the list in case the other adopters aren't able to take him or don't want him. Entitled couple scoffs, and one rolls their eyes. No, we are not going on a list. We want him now. Me. Well, even if he didn't have adopters lined up already, he's still on the stray hold period, so we can't actually adopt him. I get cut off. Entitled couple. We want him now. Me. I can't give him to you. He's not ours yet. Cut off again. I don't care. Give him to us now. Me. No. At this point, I figure they are not gonna let me explain anything, so I just flat out say no. They both go quiet, look at each other. One smugly smiles and says, "He will be leaving with us by the end of the day." At that point, they walk out and leave the shelter. I walk back into the front office and tell the office staff what happened, as they heard the yelling even over the dogs barking. We all kind of shrug it off as empty threats from crazy entitled people, stuff we're used to by now. An hour later, we get a call from the county's Human Resources office. Entitled couple called them and threw a fit, told them we are refusing to adopt them because of discrimination, and that if they don't get the dog, they are suing and contacting the news. The higher-ups lose their crap and immediately give in to their demands. They tell us to give them the dog and not even charge an adoption fee. Shortly after that, in walks entitled couple with smug grins. We will be taking our baby. As the office staff hand over the French bulldog, they turn to me. Told you. They walk out with the dog in their arms. Now here's where the karma kicks in. French bulldogs, while cute, have extreme separation anxiety among some other not so favorable habits. They are great dogs if you take care of them. Entitled couple did not take care of the dog. Super Bowl weekend, and we are hosting a big adoption party for the shelter dogs. Basically a come in and adopt them please, for the love of God, we have no kennel space party. In walks entitled couple, upset and ranting and raving about how we adopted a monster out to them. Basically, both of them work, so the dog is left alone most of the day and made the most of his time destroying their apartment. They showed us pictures of the carpet that the landlord is now demanding they pay to replace, furniture ripped to pieces, stains in an expensive mattress they had to throw out. They demanded we take the dog back and reimburse them for the damage to their property. We take the dog back and tell them they are not getting reimbursed for anything. They scoff again and threaten to sue us until our front desk lady pulls out the adoption paperwork they signed at the time of the original adoption and said they are 100% responsible for the dog and the shelter is no longer responsible for the animal at the time of adoption. So even if they took us to court, they would have a bad time. They start losing their crap and say they'll call human resources again. I tell them that won't do them any good as they signed a legal contract, but they are welcome to try. They give me the smug smile again, call HR, and proceed to scream at the phone when they don't get their way. HR told them the same thing we did. They signed a contract, they took ownership of the dog, they're not getting crap, and the county has a lawyer on hand should they want to take this to court. At this point, they are completely defeated. I smile as they turn to walk out and say, "Told you." 2 days later, the pupper got adopted by an old lady who has 2 other Frenchies and spends all day of her retirement spoiling them. Speaking of dogs, what's your favorite dog breed of all time? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, entitled mom calls me a liar when I tell her I don't work here. Man, can't people just mind their own business? Well, for starters, I was wearing an all-black outfit and the staff outfit of that particular grocery store was red and white. So there's really no way to confuse me for an employee there. But anyways, I was a student at that time and didn't have a lot of money to spare, but I still loved snacks. So every time I went to buy some, I'd spend quite a while on deciding which options I would go for. This time, I decided to go for some bags of nachos with dip. So I took them and carried them towards the register, but on my way there, I saw another aisle that had a lot of different sugary snacks on sale. And of course, being able to save money, I decided to put back the nachos and buy more snacks for the same price. As I walked back into the salty snacks aisle, I looked through it to find the nachos I chose before so I could put them back where I found them. I'm just not the type to put things back where they don't belong. But then I start contemplating again. I initially came for the nachos, but the gummies are less expensive, so I'm standing there and evaluating my options. Yes, I am that serious about snacks. Then this lady walks up to me and asks me where she can find something or whatever. I didn't really hear her because I was listening to music, and also I thought maybe she was talking to someone else in the aisle, because why would she talk to a 6-foot-tall, goth-dressed teen with headphones over my ears? When suddenly she grabbed my arm and shook me a little to get my attention. She startled me, so I yanked off my headphones from my head and said, "What?" Well, not in the most polite way, but it was because she startled me. She then asked me why I ignored her. I was confused because I didn't know why I should be obligated to talk to her. Me, "Sorry, I couldn't hear you," gestured towards my headphones that were now in my hands, still being polite because I didn't know what she was going to ask me. Her, "You should not be listening to music while you're working," in the most disgusted, snobbish voice. Me, a little confused and already annoyed. Well, good thing I'm not working. With that, I proceeded to put my headphones back on, but she grabbed my wrist and dragged it away from my head. "How dare you ignore me?" Me, "I'm not obligated to listen or to talk to you. Now don't touch me again." Mind you, I don't like talking to strangers. It makes me nervous and annoys me. I can manage if you're polite, but dragging my arm? Oh, no. Her, "I'm going to tell your boss. You'll get fired for such behavior." Me, being an unemployed teen. "Lady, I don't work here. Would you leave me alone now?" Her, "Don't lie to me. I saw you put the chips back on the shelf." Me, looking visibly confused by her after a pause. "So?" Her, "So you work here. I saw you restock the shelves. I want to speak to your manager. Now." Me, shaking my head in disbelief. What, so am I not allowed to put my groceries back on the shelf if I change my mind? I don't work here. Her. You wouldn't be putting it back on the shelf. It belongs on if you didn't work here. Me. Well, not everyone is a jerk. Unlike you, dear. Okay, I didn't say unlike you, but God, I wanted to. Her. Go and get me your manager, you rude brat. They should stop hiring kids. Me. Good thing they don't. With that, I took the nachos back into my hands and walked off back towards the register. She still screamed after me about how rude I am and that I should stop right there and listen to her. Called me a bratty kid and a nosy jerk, and then dragged some employee towards her, telling the poor dude to get my manager. The dude looks at me and then looks at her and goes, "She doesn't work here, ma'am." She stared at him in disbelief and then looked back at me standing at the register, getting ready to pay. She was fuming, but I just looked back at her, threw her a peace sign, and went home with my nachos. She probably still believes I work there. Speaking of nachos, what's your favorite flavor of Doritos? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, I do work here. Now go wash the dishes. I manage 3 restaurants. I started as a dishwasher and worked my way up the totem pole. The owner recently retired and just pays the bills. The rest of the operation is on me. I joke around and say the chain of command is God, the owner, me, and then there is everyone else. A year or 2 ago, a new shift manager had been hired, and when you run 3 restaurants, it's impossible to immediately meet every employee. But anyway, I was in one of the restaurants sitting at my favorite booth, and I heard the new manager talking rather loudly. He was standing next to a server trying to take an order. Now this server has a slight learning disability, but is highly functional. Jerk was standing there in front of the customers saying things like, "You have to be patient, she's slow, I'm helping her as much as I can. Oh, look at you, your uniform is a mess, you need help." He was talking about her apron. "You could get caught and hurt yourself, we don't want you to do that, would we?" Berating her when she asked a customer to repeat their order. I leaned out of the booth I was sitting in and looked at Mary, the server. She saw me, and I put a finger to my lips to signal her not to say anything. Mary gave a slight nod, indicating she saw me. I got out of my booth and walked around the kitchen. The cooks and dishwashers said, "Hello, Mr. H. Decided to pay us a visit?" "Not right now." Tony knew by me just saying that something was wrong, because we usually exchange banter between each other. "Tony, do me a favor. Tell Jerk Manager there's a phone call in the office and tell Mary her order is up." I walked into the office, sat down, and waited. Jerk came into the office, and I saw Mary. Told her I need to talk to her next and to sit in the break room. Jerk Manager looked at me in my street clothes and, "Look, payday isn't till Monday. No advances." "I'm not here for my paycheck." "Oh, you must be here for stock," he said. Me. "No, I'm not here for stock either," I said. "Then why the heck are you in here if you don't work here?" he huffed. "Oh, I work here all right. I am your manager. I only answer to the owner." The penny dropped. "Oh, hi, Mr. H. It's a please to—" "Close the door, now," I interrupted. "I heard what you were saying and saw what you were doing to Mary. You call yourself a manager? How the heck did you get this job?" He said. "Well, Mary is a little—" Me. "A sweetheart who doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Yes, she has a slight problem, but she is one of my best employees and has more heart than you ever will. I am going to give you 3 options. 1, I fire you. 2, you quit. 3, you take a demotion. It's your choice." Jerk said, "How do I know you really work here?" I picked up the phone and made a call to the owner. "Yeah, hey, how are you?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Look, could you tell Jerk who works for you? He doesn't seem to believe me." "Yeah, I know. Have a great day." I handed the phone to Jerk and watched as the color drained from his face. He handed the phone back to me. "Now, about those 3 options. Choose now or I will decide for you." "I'll take the demotion," he said in a low voice. "Good choice. Grab an apron and get on the dish tank." "Dishes? You're making me a dishwasher?" "Yeah, I am. Do you honestly think I would put you in a position over others? If you work hard enough, I might make you a bus boy." He stormed out of the office and headed to the dish tank. The dishwashers who were back there were brutal. They considered him as a new hire. I started as a dishwasher, and when I started, I got the worst jobs. Jerk was back washing dishes and tried giving them orders. "Okay, boss, we got it." And the snickering began. "What? You believed me? We have more seniority. Now go get the garbage can and clean the filters in the dish tank," I heard Mike say, who's a dishwasher. I called Mary and said, "Mary, are you okay, honey?" And that's when the dam broke. Mary broke down sobbing. "He does that to me all the time. He said if I ever told anyone, no one would believe me because I am a—" No, you are not. Don't let anyone tell you that you are different. And don't ever let anyone make you feel like less of a human. You are just as needed as everyone else. We are all your friends here, and we love you. Okay? A slight smile came from her face as she looked at me, nodding her head yes. Alrighty, now go clean yourself up. Your mascara is running all over. Then go get your stuff and clock out. Am I being fired? Did I do something wrong, Mr. H? No, Mary. You just had a rough day. You will be paid for a full day's work, and I want you here tomorrow. And until your father comes to pick you up, sit back and listen. You might like what you hear. Now go wash your face, okay? Mary went to clean herself up and returned to the office. We sat and talked, then heard a loud crash of dishes. Watch this, Mary. I yelled from the office. That's coming out of your paycheck. And I heard more dishes crashing and heard Jerk screaming. Forget you! Forget these dishes! Forget these guys! Forget this restaurant! Forget everyone! I quit this job! I looked at Mary and said, I don't think he will be back. He seems a bit upset. Or is it just me? Mary's dad arrived. I told him the situation, and I expect to see her tomorrow. She is a very good, hard worker. I don't want to lose her. And, Mary, go home and relax, and think about the jerk, all sweaty, dirty, wearing an apron washing dishes, and laugh. And remember, you are needed here. Now show up tomorrow, or I will come and get you. And if a manager gives you a hard time, you call me. Mary left with a smile, and as I left, I walked past the dish tank and the dishwashers were sweeping up the broken dishes and laughing hysterically. I don't know what happened to Jerk, and don't care. Speaking of first jobs, what was the first job you ever had? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Karen orders salad, tells me she doesn't like it, wants a free meal. I manage at a counter service place, a reasonably nice cafe within a park. Customers order and pay, and then we bring the food out to them. Weekends get very busy, but there are plenty of staff to manage those shifts. So today I'm walking the floor and get called over by a lady who has just been served her food, a chicken and avocado salad. She indicates to her plate and tells me that there is a lot of rocket there. Now, the salad is listed as containing chicken, avocado, rocket, pomegranate, and pancetta. It's a nice salad. I have it a lot myself. So I politely point out to the lady that yes, the salad is indeed made with rocket. I thought she might say that she read the menu incorrectly, but she then told me that she read that it came with rocket but assumed it would be a mixed salad. This was quite hard to respond to because what more can a place do than list the ingredients in a dish? She certainly didn't ask while ordering. So I tried to explain that as the meal was exactly as advertised and of good quality, and that it came out in a timely manner, that unfortunately I would neither refund her meal or swap it for something else, but I would take her comments as feedback for a potential menu change in the future. She then told me I had poor customer service and that I could have at least offered her a new meal. At this point, I really started to believe she was entitled, as she was essentially suggesting I should replace her perfectly good meal as well as offer her more. So I stuck to my guns and explained again my position. At this point, she cut me off and took out her phone to start writing what turned out to be a bad review. I actually really pride myself on customer service and get a fair amount of praise from my regulars. I will go the extra mile to help someone find a dish they can eat or fix something that's not quite right, but everyone has to draw a line somewhere. I won't start giving free food out to anyone that won't read. I do have a business to run. Been stewing all evening and trying to shake it off. I think the fact that she called me condescending in her review has really got to me because I did my absolute best to be polite and honest with her. Edit. Thanks for the support and some opposing opinions. I will stick by how I handled it as I believed it is fair for the venue and the country in which I work. I appreciate that at other places it's better to suck it up and give the customer anything they need, but they're not the kind of places I want to work. If you were in this position, how would you have handled the situation? Please leave a comment letting me know. Does this look medium well to you? Context: I'm a teenager that works at a multi-floor restaurant. Because it's usually very busy, we only have a kitchen on the first floor, and waiters are generally assigned to a ton of tables. We have waiters and servers. Waiters take the order of the customer and generally handle most of the upfront contact with them, and servers carry the food, usually up flights of stairs, on a tray to the table that ordered it. I am a server. Meet your stunning cast. We've got me, random girl who probably enjoyed this exchange way too much. We've got Karen, entitled lady, probably around 40. Can I speak to your manager hairdo? We've got Brenda, assumedly the mother of Karen, around 60 to 70, reeks of way too much lavender perfume. We've got Steve, my coworker, a waiter with a totally awesome looking man bun, not his actual name. We've got Jimmy, my other coworker, a server, good friend of mine, once again not his actual name. And we've got poor dude, Karen's significant other. So, I was working a normal Saturday evening shift, and we've hit the dinner rush that usually starts around 5 and runs until 8. This basically means that us servers are running food practically non-stop up staircases and sometimes have to carry a larger tray with the food for anywhere between 2 and 4 tables. So yeah, it's hectic. Anyways, I'm sent to the second floor with 3 tables orders, and as we aren't really supposed to have the slips of paper with the specific orders out as it's considered unprofessional, I was somewhat struggling to remember which table ordered which burger, who had the nachos, etc. I set my massive tray onto one of the foldable mini tables we carry around when we have a large tray, and I set to work picking up foods and announcing what each one was so the customers could let me know where to set it. I'm in the middle of doing this for a second table when I hear somebody clear their throat loudly. I glance over at them to see a woman, Karen, waving me over, clearly mad about something. I smile at her and say, "I'll be over in just a minute," and I get back to work. I finally reached the third table and was starting to help them when I heard that sound that causes you to just know you're gonna deal with entitled people. Karen. Ahem. I nod in her direction and wave shortly to let her know I haven't forgotten her. Karen. Ahem. Me, rolling my eyes, but keeping up my customer service face and voice. Thanks for your patience this far. I'll help you as soon as I finish here. Karen. I need service over here. Me. Okay, I'll only be a minute. Karen rolls her eyes and makes some snide remark to Brenda, who shakes her head at me. I finished serving these really nice customers their food, and they were both pretty loud when thanking me for my awesome service, as they can tell as well as I can what I'm about to deal with. I thank them, and one lady mouthed good luck to me. Oh boy. I walk over to their table and put on my best customer service grin. Mind you, as I spoke, I was trying so hard to sound ecstatic to help them that I'm sure I sounded like a Disney princess or something. Me. Hello, how may I help you? Karen. There's something extremely wrong with my food. Me. Oh, I'm sorry. What seems to be the issue? Karen points at her completely untouched burger. This is the issue. Me. I'm sorry, I don't fully understand. Could you possibly elaborate so I can help more? Karen, rolling her eyes. Fine. She cuts her burger in half with a knife, opens it, and points out a tiny spot of pink. Does this look medium well to you? For the record, medium well-cooked burgers mean there is a little pink in it. Me, laughing internally and trying to keep a straight face. Oh, sorry for the confusion. I'm pretty sure that medium well means there is a little pink in it. I understand how— No, you are wrong, and clearly know nothing about how food is cooked. There should not be any pink whatsoever. I'm not paying for this abomination. Poor dude. Honey. Karen, don't interrupt me. At this point, I glance at Brenda and poor dude. Brenda is giving me a death glare for whatever reason, and poor dude is just sitting there pretty pale and obviously uncomfortable. So I decide to try to end it as soon as possible for his sake. Me. I apologize for any confusion. I'm afraid I don't have my tablet with me, so I can't enter your order. But would you like me to grab your waiter? Karen. Is that even a question? Me. Okay, do you know what their name is? I can try to find them for you. No. At this point, Brenda finally chimes in, acting all high and mighty. Brenda. Oh, I didn't catch his name. but I know what he looks like. Me. Okay, I can try to work with that. What does he look like? Brenda. Well, he is kind of tall, and he's not that good looking. I internally roll my eyes. Brenda, smug as heck. Oh, right. I remember. He had... Not even kidding. She paused for dramatic effect. She then said the next part like she was disgusted. A ponytail. Me, practically wheezing, as I was not expecting that. Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Brenda gives a smug grin. Okay, I'll grab him for you. So I go and find my coworker Steve, the only guy on the floor with a man bun, and tell him what's going on. Not gonna lie, we laughed about it for a minute straight before he went out to deal with them, and I ran back to the kitchen to serve more food. Anyways, Steve ended up re-entering her order, this time as a well-done burger, for free. Sadly, I was not the one that ran that order, but the good news is my friend Jimmy got it and told me about it after the rush was over. This isn't word for word in any way because I heard it about 2 hours after it happened. Jimmy. Hi, I have your classic cheeseburger cooked. Well done. Thanks for your patience. We do apologize for the previous confusion. Karen. Jimmy. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Where would you like me to set this? You may as well throw it away. I'm not going to eat it. Okay, well, the chefs made it for you for free. So would you like me to get you a to-go box? You teenagers never listen, do you? What? I said I don't want it. Go throw it away. You get paid to do stuff for customers, right? Jimmy, pretty shocked. Look, I don't want to get in trouble for throwing away food if you suddenly decide you want it. So I'm gonna just leave it here, and you can feel free to throw it away if you really don't want it. He walked away, ignoring how upset Karen was at that. Anyways, us servers didn't hear from them again, as we were busy and they didn't order anything else. However, I did manage to pass by their table after they left, and they left it a mess. They literally dumped their leftover sodas and drinks onto the plates and pulled the lining out of their nacho chip basket. That burger the chefs had remade? It was looking like a horse trampled the food in old McDonald's barn with the bun over here, the meat over there. Here a lettuce, there a lettuce, everywhere lettuce, lettuce. The only clean area was where poor guy sat, and I felt bad for the man. I mean, he has to constantly deal with Karen, and possibly Brenda too. Oh, and guess what? No tip for the poor waiter. But don't worry, because those nice people at the third table I helped left a 40% tip for the waiter to compensate, and Jimmy and I got this story. So, all's well that ends well. Speaking of burgers, how do you like yours cooked? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, Entitled Mom demands I send a wedding gift. So I did. My family and I immigrated to the US when I was 7, and for the first 3 months we were here, we lived with a relative of my mom's who immigrated a few years before us. The dad helped my dad going to interviews, helped him buy a car, and helped us find our bearings in the US. My family and I are Buddhist, and this family are Christian. When we lived with them, they strongly encouraged us to go to the church with them every Sunday, and they tried to keep us going to church with them when my family found a temple and started attending it. They started treating us like crap. Their sons would pick on me and make fun of my English and told me I won't go to college and probably just end up being a repairman. The mom and their daughter would make fun of my sister for her weight loss and gains. When we found out later that this was due to lupus and she had to be hospitalized, they told my mom the reason my sister is sick is because of our religion. About 15 years ago, the dad lost his job. My parents, who were now doing well, needed to retile the house, so they hired the dad to do it, and when I asked how much they were charged, I was floored, thinking they miscalculated. I told them they were way overpaying, but my dad just said, "We're paying them back." This happened again. Every home improvement project my dad did, he would always hire the dad and would always be overcharged. The crappy thing is, the work was beyond subpar. Like the retiling work, I had to regrout the entire job when I visited one holiday. On top of this, they would always ask to borrow money and never paid my dad back. At this point, I figured my parents paid them back and then some. Frankly, I was completely done with them when I heard what they said about my sister. One day, I got a wedding invitation. Their middle son is getting married. Not wanting to have anything to do with them, I RSVP no. About a month later, I got a call from their mom asking why I haven't sent a gift yet. She demanded I send a gift despite my protest. I am not obligated to. Then she mentioned how my family owed them, and she knew I could afford to send gifts because I had a well-paying job, and how she always prayed for us to be saved. When she said this, it triggered the wheels in my brain to turn, and I told her she's right. I was being rude, and I will send a gift. When I hung up, I immediately looked up every non-Christian house of worship in their area and made a donation in the happy couple's name. About 2 to 3 weeks later, I got a call from the mom. I answered as politely as I could. "Oh, hi, did you enjoy the gift?" This was met with a barrage of yelling, screeching, and a torrent of insults. I was barely able to make anything out. The daughter called my sister, and the middle son called me later, demanding an explanation. I flat out told him everything and was 100% non-apologetic about it. Actually, I did say I was sorry for not being there to see the whole thing go down. When I spoke to my sister later, this is what we're able to piece together. They had the wedding shower at their church after services, and they were opening their gifts then. Well, they got to my gift. Everyone was uncomfortable seeing all the donations to the houses of worship with definitely non-Christian names made in the couple's names. Then the bride's parents flipped out when they saw the membership cards and certificates with the family's name on it. The bride's parents demanded she break off the engagement, and she did. Everyone in their church apparently thinks the whole family are trying to corrupt their church, and they are now treated as pariahs. I ran into the mom and dad a few weeks ago at the market, and I looked at them. They scurried away from me. Was I a jerk for doing this? Yeah, no debate there. But I figure with how much I donated, I don't think anyone can call me ungrateful or say it's a cheap wedding gift. But really, I am sorry. I wasn't there to see the whole thing go down. Next we've got, Lady got mad I didn't help her and spills my coffee all over me. So this was like 2 years ago. I was at the grocery store in the water aisle picking up a bottle of soda for a party later when I noticed an older man struggling with a gallon of water. I offered to help and put the water jug into his cart. I asked if he needed help lifting it when he got to his car, but he declined and said his son and wife were in another aisle. He thanked me and left, so I went back to the soda deciding which one to get. Once my back is turned, I hear it. Those dreaded words you never want to hear when you just want to pick up one thing and leave. "Excuse me?" I turn around and I see her. Typical Karen. Fake tan skin, obnoxiously large sunglasses, wearing a neon pink 2 sizes too small t-shirt, jean shorts, and flip-flops. Me. Yes? Karen. "Now that you're finally done with that old man, you can pick up this water," pointing at the 36-bottle package of water, "and carry it to the front with me." Her cart was packed full of different foods. The bottom of it also had stuff on it. Me. "I'm sorry, but I don't work here. But I can get an employee to help." I was wearing a plain t-shirt and shorts, nothing that indicated I worked there. She looks me over. "I don't care if it's your day off or whatever. You will lift that water, and you will come with me to the front." Me. "No, I won't. If that's the attitude you're going to have when asking for help, you can do it yourself." I turn around, grab a Mountain Dew, and walk away. "Jerk!" she screamed at full volume. I ignored her and kept walking. I was about to head to the checkout when I saw they had a Starbucks next to it. I ordered an iced coffee without a lid or a straw because I wanted to try and save the environment. I get to the self-service and just wait in the line. When it's my turn to scan, I hear a familiar voice right behind me. "That's him." I turn around and I see her again with a confused manager in tow. "This is the one who refused to help me." Confused manager points to me. "Him?" "Yes," she said with glee. "That's him." Confused manager. "Ma'am, he doesn't work here." Karen interrupts him. "Yes, he does." Her every word dropping with venom. "And oh, look, he's drinking coffee instead of helping me." I just glared at her and said nothing. "Put down that coffee and help me with my groceries." She slapped the coffee out of my hand, which caused it to spill all over me before it hit the floor. The heck? The manager becoming less confused and turns to me. "Sir, do you want me to call the police?" I'm wiping my shirt. "No, I just want her gone. Now." Manager. "You heard him, ma'am." Karen stumbling. But, manager. "You have 2 options. You can either leave willingly or I'll call the police and they'll drag you out in handcuffs. Karen turns and spits at me. Jack! She storms right out at the front door with none of her stuff. I clean up in the bathroom and they even give me 2 bottles of soda for free. The sad part of all this was I would have helped her if she just minded her manners. Speaking of soda, what's your favorite flavor of soda? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, you stole my car, I will make you homeless. This story happened approximately 4 years ago to a friend of mine. He and his wife, girlfriend back then, took a house loan, bought a new Chevrolet Camaro, and in general they were preparing for a life together. He had proposed to her. Because of their lack of free time, due to their hard working to pay off the loan, they didn't have much time for themselves, nor for the abnormal amount of other things such as the housework. So they hired a maid. His first impressions about her were good, and they decided that she's the person they would trust, and they handed her their house keys because they were at work most of the time she came around to clean their house. First few weeks, she worked hard and always paid attention to detail and nicely cleaned their house from the bottom to the very top. She was also instructed not to let anyone in and to always lock the door when she left. After 6 months of working there, strange things began to happen. Not in any anomalous way, but things started to disappear, being stolen. It all started with small things like AA batteries, which are barely noticeable missing, but soon things graduated as phone chargers, perfumes, the more expensive ones, and some electrical gadgets went missing. My friend thought that he simply lost them, but soon the maid raised suspicion as the things went missing when my friend wasn't present when she was detailing their house. But without any evidence, blaming her wasn't in place. Also, he found out on some social media that she has got some serious debts, at least in thousands of dollars, ailments, divorce court settlements, etc. So he decided to install security cameras and he didn't tell the maid. 5 weeks forward, and he had enough evidence to press charges on her as the things she stole were valued at $250+. In my country, anything stolen above $250 is considered a crime. He got furious when his flash disk containing private documents as well as some of his billing and his official work documents was stolen. But he wanted her to get even more into the stealing so he could squish even the last cent out of her. So he came up with a plan. He told the maid that he and his girlfriend will be gone for a week for a honeymoon and that he will be going by a taxi, not to pay the extra money that airports charge for the parking. That means his brand new Chevrolet Camaro would stay parked in the house the maid has keys of. They rented an apartment through Airbnb just a few blocks away from his place, and he placed a GPS tracking keychain into his car so he could see where his car is through the phone app. He then placed the car keys in a visible spot in the house so the maid would notice. All that was left was to wait for the magic to happen, and his intuition was right. After 2 days of almost constant watching the GPS tracker's location, the car left the garage. All of a sudden, the car was cruising at 90 miles per hour on the highway. My friend immediately called the cops. They caught the maid something like 20 miles away, and now the revenge can take place. He decided to press charges on the maid. At the court, the maid told the judges my friend told her to drive the car to some untold location. She acted like she forgot where it was. And the one that should go to jail is him, because he wrongly accused her and he just wants to get money from her to pay his loan. But the tables turned. My friend and his lawyer showed the court all of the video evidence of her stealing his stuff valued highly above $250. It was like $40,000 including the car. So it was a crime. She started telling every single lie she could think of. The security had to calm her down. She is facing 5 years in jail and she was charged $5,000, including all the stolen property, but the car, his lawyer, and some other court stuff. The price was excluding the car because it was returned almost immediately. Few days later, police did a house check on her and most of the stolen stuff was there. There were also some other things reported missing from other customers of hers. Due to her previous debts and her new ones she owes, she will very likely become homeless when she gets out of jail. Speaking of cars, what's your dream car? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, entitled old ladies want to see my ID, so I showed it to them. My grandma's favorite pastime is playing bingo. On our 18th birthday, she would take us with her for a little birthday treat. Dinner, then bingo. On my 18th birthday, my mom also tagged along with us too. Dinner was great, and then we went to the bingo hall. My grandma let me buy the tickets for her, as I could legally do that now. The lady behind the desk asked for my ID, which I showed her. She wished me a happy birthday and good luck. All the old ladies sitting around us kept saying how cute I was and were wishing me luck. There was a claw machine there, and if you didn't win a prize, it gave you a ticket. If you collected 5 tickets, you could take it to the front desk and they would give you a prize. I kept forgetting my tickets, and a few of the ladies came over and gave them to me, letting me know I had forgotten them, and again saying how cute I was to be playing bingo with my mom and grandma. The first game started. If you've never been to a bingo hall, basically they have a camera set up, so you can see the next ball on a big TV screen. You can mark that number on your card as soon as it appears on the TV, but it doesn't officially count until the caller calls that number. We played and lost a few games, but then it came time for the first big prize game of the night, a full card for $1,000. About 15 or so minutes into the game, my last number comes up on the screen. I turned to my grandma and said, as calmly as if I was telling her what I had for breakfast that morning, I think I got a full card. My grandma starts flipping out. He's got a full card! Oh, he's got a full card! They finally call the number, so I stand up and yell, bingo! All of the old ladies look at me, and if looks could kill, I would have died 100 times over. The worker comes over and takes my card. How they verify the cards are, each card has a number in the middle that is the computer. The worker reads that number off to a caller. They punch it in, and it comes up on a big TV screen showing your card and how many numbers you have/don't have. When they punched in mine, it showed that I had about 5 numbers missing. A false bingo. Everyone that was already staring daggers at me fired more daggers. Dumb kid can't play properly. What an idiot, etc. But the worker yells to the caller, no, it's 4-5, not 5-4. They punch in the proper number, and there it is, clear as day, a full card. She takes my card into the back and comes out with $1,000 cash. All the old ladies are yelling at her as she walks past. Hey, he can't play. He is too young. You need to card him. The worker walks over and says, hey, I know we carded you before you bought the tickets, but I just need to check it again, just to keep everyone happy. I gladly pulled out my ID and gave it to her. She looked at it, said, yep, looks good. Happy birthday. And she handed me the $1,000. I had never seen that much money in my life, so I instantly gave it to my mom to hold on to. We had agreed that anything we won, we would split 3 ways anyways. The game continued, but the people dabbing around me seemed to dab just a bit harder than normal. I went to the washroom and I could hear their snarky comments as I walked past them. All the ladies that were calling me cute earlier were now looking at me like I was a horrible person. Time for the final game of the night, the second big prize game. Another full card game for $1,000. As luck would have it, about 15 minutes or so, I see my last number on the screen. I laughed this time. I have a full card again. Again, my grandma yelled like she did the first time. Oh my God, he's got it again! They call my number, and I once again stand up and say, bingo! I can hear audible bangs on the tables and people yelling, come on, this is not fair, etc. The worker comes over, and sure enough, it's a full card again. I swear, the place was going to riot. I didn't feel safe walking to my car afterwards. People were getting in the worker's face yelling at her saying, there is no way he is 18. He is not allowed to play. We are going to get this place closed down for allowing him to play bingo, etc. The worker walks over to me, $1,000 in hand, and says, hey, sorry, I know I already carded you, but they're asking me to do it again. I said no problem, and I pulled it out and gave it to her again. The old lady still yelled, how do we know he is 18? He could be in cahoots with them. So the worker asked if she could borrow my ID for a second. I said sure, and she took it over to the caller's booth. She put it in front of the ball camera, and there it was on all the TVs, my ID with my birthday on it. She yelled to everyone, clearly annoyed. See, he is 18. He's allowed to play. The room went quiet. They knew there was nothing they could say now. She came back over to me and handed me my ID with $1,000, and once again, with a smile, said, happy birthday. I'm now the favorite grandson, and I got a new computer with my share. So, happy birthday to me. Karen demands benefits and insurance. I work on an IT help desk that's phone number is one off from a military benefits help desk number. We tend to get the other help desk's calls several times a week. which makes it often enough to include in the initial training for new employees. Normally, the person on the other end has misdialed. We provide the right phone number and we go our separate ways amicably. On one particular occasion, Sergeant Karen called and would not believe me that she had dialed the wrong number. While I appreciate that she was trying to get her family the benefits her military service more than deserved, I could not help her to get them. We've got Sergeant Karen, and we've got me. We've got awesome supervisor. Phone rings. Me. Thank you for calling my help desk. This is OP. How may I help you? Sergeant Karen. This is Sergeant Karen. I need to get this string of benefits, insurance, etc. for myself and my family. Me. I'm sorry. You've called the incorrect help desk for that. Let me get the number for the other help. No. This is the number for my help desk, and you will help me now. I have kids, and they need to be covered on my insurance. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is not your help desk. This help desk is for reporting IT issues from employees of my organization. Our number is one off from that one. It is possible you misdialed. It happens all the time. I did not misdial. I know I called the right number. This is the number I have, and you will help me now. Me. Ma'am, I am telling you, this is not your help desk. If I could help, I would, but I do not work there and have no way of accessing their systems. Let me speak to your supervisor. Yes, ma'am. Transfer the call to awesome supervisor, who sits in the next cubicle over. Supervisor. This is the help desk. Supervisor here. How may I... No, ma'am. This is not the other help desk. Well, be that way then, jerk. Sergeant Karen had hung up abruptly when my supervisor confirmed that this was indeed not the number for the other help desk. Next we've got, we close in just a few minutes, and you want what? So this just happened moments ago, and now that I'm home, I can tell the tale. My store closes at 10 p.m. Sometime within the last 15 to 20 minutes before we shut those doors for the night, I noticed an order in our photo lab that had just come through to be processed. Went back, printed the labels, read what they were, started the order, and left. Over the span of not even 2 minutes, more orders came through, making a total of 6 orders for one person. People forget things to add last minute and don't want to lose progress in making something online. It's understandable. 13 posters, 2 canvases, and a handful of 8x10 prints. Wouldn't be done tonight, but it is normal to receive large orders. A few minutes later, the phones are ringing from an incoming call. Me. Thank you for calling the store. My name's OP. How can I help you this evening? Customer. Hi. I just placed an order a few minutes ago and was wondering when they would be ready. Me. Alrighty. What's your last name so I can check the status? Customer's name. Proceed to check the bins with completed orders, then looking at the computer screen, her name was the big order. Me. You had the posters, canvases, and the 8x10s, correct? Yes. 4 posters have been printed, and the 8x10s are still printing. Canvases are not able to start until the posters finish. Your order should be complete before 8 tomorrow morning. Customer. But I need them first thing tomorrow. Can I pick them up tonight? Cue me checking the time real quick before answering her question. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but we will be closing in 7 minutes. Our staff in the morning can put together your canvases, and the rest of the order can print throughout the night. We open at 7 a.m. if you wanted to ask for a more accurate time frame. Customer, angrily. Your website says 1 hour. How long does it take for you to do your job? Me, tired but trying to keep up the cheerful voice. Normally it is 1 hour, yes, but our machines can only go so fast, ma'am. The posters and the canvas products print from the same machine, and the printing time can vary depending on the size of just one image. It can vary anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to print one thing, and that's if there isn't a mechanical malfunction that can make the image streak, or if ink needs to be changed, then it might need to be reprinted. It takes almost half an hour to put together a canvas while making sure it's crisp and correctly done. We now close in 5 minutes. The pickup time on your order automatically says that they should be ready between 9:45 a.m. and 10:05 a.m. 8 is the earliest we can get these ready for you. Now, end that with a dial tone, cause she just hung up on me. If it was someone who needed pictures for court, a classroom, anything else, so long as they were in the store before closing and it wasn't going to take long at all, both the manager and I would have stayed to help and get it ready. We've done it in the past. There's no way that would have been done before 11:30. Who's to say she would even show up? Sometimes people say they need stuff immediately and never walk into the store or come back until days later. Would you have stayed and completed the order or just told her to come back tomorrow? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got just another customer who refuses to take no for an answer. I had the pleasure of fielding a phone call from a customer who refused to understand that what he was asking for simply wasn't possible. Customer: Hi, I was in your store yesterday and saw this hat I liked, but you didn't have it in black. I was wondering if you could order it into the store so I could buy it. Me: Let me check our inventory system right now. If we have it in one of our distribution centers or another store, we could absolutely place an order for you and have you pick it up at our store. I checked and we didn't carry the hat in black at all. To be clear, it wasn't that it was sold out or currently unavailable or anything like that. We just didn't carry that product in black. Never had and had no plans to do so. Me: Hi there. I just checked and it looks like we don't carry that style in black. So unfortunately, I can't order it into the store for you. Him: Really? But black is such a popular color. Why don't you have it in black? Me: I agree, it is a very popular color, but we just don't sell that style in black at all. Very sorry about that. Him: But the company that makes the hat sells it in black on their website. Me: I understand. We don't sell that hat in black, but if you want to, you could buy it from that company directly. Him: Your store had a better price for it. I'd really prefer to buy it from you if you could order it in. So not only does he want us to order this item in for him and him alone, he also wants us to sell it to him at a discounted price. Me: Right. The thing is, if we as a store were out of stock, but we carried it as a chain, I could order it in for you. But since we don't carry it at all, I have no way to order it for you. Him: You couldn't just order one in for me? I'm a loyal customer. I bought something the last time I was in. Me: Unfortunately, we just don't have that style in black in our system at all. There's no way to order it in, and in terms of distribution, we can't place orders for just one item. Here's where I started getting really frustrated with his refusal to accept that what he was asking for just wasn't possible. Him: Well, what if you order a few in? Me: I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't control our distribution or what products we stock. Him: Well then, can I speak to your manager? I'm sure he'd be happy to order in a product for a loyal customer. At this point, I'm happy to have an out from this conversation, even if it means potentially annoying my manager with a frivolous phone call. Me: Sure thing. I'll put your call through to him. It'll just be a moment. Him: Actually, can you put me on hold and lay some groundwork with your manager? Let him know I'm a loyal customer. I just bought something recently. I really want to buy this hat through you. And then, when you have him on my side, then can you put the call through? Me: I'm going to connect you to my manager now. What I didn't tell him was this. I'm definitely going to lay some groundwork with my manager in terms of apologizing for sending him this call and letting him know how persistent and annoying you've been up until now. My manager took the call, came up a few minutes later and just said, Don't worry about it. He understands he's not getting the hat through us. If I had to do over, I would have been more brief and just let him know it wasn't possible and then hung up on him. It's still crazy just how far people will push it to get things exactly how they want them. If you were handling a customer like this, what exactly would you tell them? Please let me know in the comments. Next we've got Entitled Dad Takes My 3,000 Euro Guitar. March 2019. I used to play guitar for many years. I started when I was about 6 or 7 and had to quit after my 3rd year of university, since Italian law school is extremely hard. Now that I finally graduated, I decided to start playing again. When I quit, I sold or gave away many of my guitars, keeping just my first one as a memory of my granddad, who I lost 2 years ago. So, first things first, I looked for a good instrument. Since I couldn't find one, I wanted an 8-string guitar, since I usually play really heavy stuff. I ended up with a luthier custom-made beast. Since I also found a really well-paying job, I decided to treat myself, as I never had good instruments, and this is the very first one I've ever bought that cost more than $200 or $300. It was a dream come true. Fast forward a bit. January 2020. I was at this shop, which is also renowned for being really good with setups, and of course, I brought my guitar with me so that they could take a closer look and inspect it. I was at the shop's counter for maybe over an hour, since most of the employees are my friends, and we started talking about stuff like how we were doing, news, albums, etc. Also, it took them some time to give me an answer about my setup, since I had really specific requests. Introduce Poor Kid and Entitled Dad. While the kid started looking around with his eyes shining, his dad immediately started complaining about, "Where the heck is everyone here? I have a job, and I can't waste my time like this." I was minding my own business on my phone when I felt someone tapping at my back. It was Poor Kid. "Excuse me, sir. Can I look at your guitar?" I put away my phone and said, "Of course," and took a step back. He was amazed and started asking questions about it, like why does it have 8 strings? What do I play? What's my favorite band? Etc. He then thanks me and gets back to the guitars he was looking at. As the kid goes away, his father comes to me with an annoyed face. "Hey there, that's a nice guitar you have." "Thanks, sir. So, is your son buying his first one?" His son was probably about 10. "Yeah, but these ones cost too much, and I saw he liked yours. How much did you pay for it?" "Well, I won't be suggesting you to buy an instrument like this as his first one. This guitar is a custom handmade one. It was pretty expensive." "Like 400 euro? "No, actually, I paid a bit more, like 3,000 euro. "Don't lie. There is no way a piece of wood can cost that much money. I'll give you 90 for it." "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. I said 90 euro for your guitar." I was shocked. I never had to face an entitled dad before, and I was literally speechless. "Okay, I'll give you 100 euro, but nothing more than that." "Sorry, but it's not for sale. And even if it was, I could never sell it for, what, 1/30th of its price?" "Now you're just being mean. It's for my kid. Can't you do something nice and sell it to him?" "No, this is my first good guitar, and there are literally hundreds of them here. I'm sure you can find something he likes that you can afford." "But he likes yours." And as he said that, he started trying to reach for it. I blocked his arm without hurting him. My guitar has a really thin neck, and it can be damaged or even snapped if handled carelessly. "What are you doing?" "Come on, be a grown man. If you bought it once, you can buy it another time." "Absolutely no. Please, sir, stop harassing me or I'll call the owners." He burst into a laugh before starting screaming how I was supposed to give it to him, that he knew the owner of the shop, who was one of his closest friends, and that he would call the police because I assaulted him when I grabbed his arm. The poor kid came close to us, looking deluded at his father, saying that he was embarrassing him and stopped doing what he was trying to do, and that he always did that. The entitled dad looked at his son with anger and yelled to him, "Go away and look at those stupid guitars." By that time, the cashier and the owner were back, since they probably heard the commotion. "Is there something wrong here?" As I was saying no, the entitled father started ranting about me being mean to both him and his son, that I had assaulted him, and that now he demanded me give him my instrument. Otherwise, he would have to call the cops on both me and the owner. I was so confused that I couldn't even understand how furious I was at that point. The owner looked at him, and when entitled dad finally finished with his nonsense, turned to me. "Was he really trying to take your instrument, OP?" "Well, yes, but I stopped him because I was worried he would have taken it from the neck, damaging it." "Sir, we have cameras everywhere. I know OP, and he would never do such things. I ask you and your son to leave, or we'll have to call the police." "You can't do that. I was assaulted." The owner clearly had enough of that, so he took out his phone and started dialing for help. The dad went to grab his kid and stormed out of the shop, yelling how incompetent the owner was, how I had been a horrible person, and many other funny things I can't report. I felt bad for his son though. He was really kind, and I saw how he would have liked a brand new guitar to start playing, so I run after them, and ignoring the father, I asked the kid if he wanted an instrument. He was crying, but as I asked him that, he gave me a smile as bright as the sun. He went back, spent a good hour while his dad was waiting by the entrance, trying different guitars, and he ended up choosing a Fender all-in-one pack, since he would have needed an amp as well. I understood that his father was not going to be able to afford it, and I decided to buy it for him myself. He was the happiest kid I've ever seen. He and his dad got out of the shop, and I was finally able to get all the details about the work I wanted to be done on my rig, paid my deposit, and of course, bought some pics. When I finally got out from the shop 10 minutes later, I noticed that the dad was waiting outside. His eyes were red, and he started apologizing for his behavior. He explained to me how he used to work for a construction company, but he eventually got fired as the company declared bankruptcy. My granddad runs his own construction company, so I knew the one he was talking about. Pretty nasty stuff. Manager caught stealing profits, unpaid shifts and workdays, forced closure, no liquidation whatsoever. Judges even took some money from the workers to pay for the debts the managers made. There were no doubts why this man was having his way more than fair share of BS. He kept thanking me for what I had done, that he was feeling horrible, and how his son was absolutely loving his brand new instrument. The three of us went to a bar and had a coffee and chatted for a bit. At the end of the day, the entitled dad was really just a parent struggling to get by month to month. I know what it feels like. I've been through some stuff myself, and I know how you can end up being a total jerk when you see no way out of your situation. I'm glad that it all sorted itself out in the end. They were genuine and good people, just having a rough time, and I couldn't be happier knowing that maybe I bought the next Steve Vai's first guitar. Speaking of guitars, do you play any instruments yourself? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, "We don't discriminate here, ma'am." First post here, but I never thought I'd have to since Karens are uncommon in our poor country. This was just a few hours ago, and it didn't happen to me, but I was there when it did. There's this small supermarket I pass by on my daily commute. It's a small, two-cashier lane, higher-priced store that's located right beside a rich gated community. Anyways, I frequent this store just to get their imported sodas that aren't commonly found elsewhere. It was a slow day, and there were two people in front of me in the payout while the other lane was closed. Understandable, as there were only 3 paying customers. Here enters the cast. We've got me, we've got poor guy, we've got Karen, we've got the store clerk. Here I was, just waiting for my turn and looking out the window, and when I look back, a Karen had somehow teleported beside me as if to take my spot. I look at her directly and step back in line as the guy before me moves. I was now second in line, with only 2 bottles to buy, but I hear an irritated huffing noise. Poor guy walks by, wearing an electrician's overalls colored orange and gray. All the store employees wore black pants, a white shirt, and a black apron. The Karen grabs his arm and complains, "Why are you people not opening the other cashier? It's a big lane, and you're making us wait." She spoke English, but we're in Asia. Everybody here speaks English fine, but it's kind of snobbish in a casual setting. Poor guy says in our language, "Sorry ma'am, but I'm also just a customer." Karen, "Oh, sorry. She sounded sincere. Poor guy bows his head twice and walks away to get stuff. Meanwhile, she looks back, irritated, and finds store clerk to question. "Hey, why is there only 1 lane open? We're waiting here. And besides," points with her lips to poor guy, "why do you let people like that in here?" I turn back as I hear this. The store clerk, with dead eyes as if having to put up with this regularly, speaks in a solid and clear monotone. Store clerk in our language, "Ma'am, we don't discriminate against selling to less fortunate people here." Everybody stops for a bit, and I stifle a laugh. I turn around to see the second lane open up. I start paying for my 2 bottles, but I hear the Karen place her things sheepishly behind me. I turn around and give her a deadpan look. I take my stuff with a chuckle and walk out. Kudos to you, store clerk. Next we've got, entitled teacher takes my laptop and accuses me of cheating. So it's exam season, and I'm in the extra care group. This group requires a bit of a boosty during an exam, and for me, I require a laptop and alone space. I have a few psychological issues, and my hands are incredibly shaky constantly, so I use a laptop for all of my exams rather than handwriting it. I have been since year 9, and I'm currently year 13. One major issue with me is I can't think straight unless I talk out loud. I can do this in a hushed whisper, but it's why I have to be alone. I'm seated at the back of a large hall with my computer far away from everyone else, so I can freely explain my thoughts to myself while tapping away. Before I get on with this story, I should explain Mr. M. Mr. M is a high-end teacher with 2 students in this school. Neither are important for this story. Mr. M prioritizes those students heavily and puts them in the best classes whenever he could, the classes I was in. They always got the top marks and were always winners in some sort of contest. I, being the quiet-minded kid who focused much more on daydreaming about Hulk fantasies, didn't care too much about these brats. I just kept on keeping on. Well, until today. I was in my history exam quietly tapping away. I was also whispering to myself as I did it, telling myself what to write as I typed. But I felt something. A very sharp tap. I looked up to see Mr. M glaring at me sharply. I didn't understand what I did wrong, so went back to silently tapping, struggling much more as I'm still very anxious about my thinking issue. Another hard tap. I turn back to him and he hisses some sort of nonsense about me cheating. I remain silent. I would never cheat in an exam. Even if I was struggling so bad, why would he accuse me of it now? The silence persisted until he muttered something about having special treatment and his son requiring the laptop, and before I could respond, he had picked it up and began walking away. Now all of this was done in a very quick and quiet movement. I couldn't react. I just sat in stunned silence. My work was gone. I had been working on this exam for an hour. I wanted to break down and cry. This was all too much for me. I was lucky Mrs. D, the one who was in charge of the exams, quickly noticed my lack of a computer. Mrs. D was the one who gave me the computer in the first place, so she knew something was up. She told me to go with her as she took me outside, where I explained everything. The lack of computer, Mr. M accusing me of cheating, being kicked out of the exam hall, everything. She listened contently, then told me to stay there and went off somewhere. From what I was told from a teacher who heard the commotion, Mrs. D had tore him a new one. She berated him for ruining my exam and stealing my property without any knowledge of my conditions. She eventually returned to me with the laptop and my memory drive. Luckily, he hadn't removed it, and gave me an extra time slip for 15 minutes. Luckily, I was able to get the exam completed, even though it left me a bit shaken up. I haven't seen Mr. M for the rest of the day, and I noticed his class was taken by a sub for this lesson. Maybe some action was taken against him. Update. I got information. Oh boy, have I got a story for you. Turns out he's been confiscating work off others and giving it to his kids to hand in. Mr. M has been removed from the college and is not allowed to teach anywhere in my country's region or the regions nearby. His kids have also been expelled due to constant cheating. He's been replaced on the exam board by a very sweet lady who I had watch over me in my media exam. I need an invigilator near me while working due to some of my issues. I'm very happy I have friends in high places, so I know about all of this and can tell you all. And hopefully, I'll not see him ever again. Next we've got, other coffee shops work like this, so yours should too. I worked at a gourmet coffee shop a few years ago. If you wanted a coffee, you would order, pay, then I would hand you a cup and you would pour the coffee and add the cream/sugar yourself. Other than having to do the odd sandwich/espresso, it was a pretty easy job. A group of 4 people came in, they're dressed in suits, and just give off that aura of, I'm better than you. 3 of them sit at a table, and the 4th comes up to the register. Me. Hi, can I help you? Him. Hi, I would like 4 coffees, please. Me. Sure, what size? Grande. We're not Starbucks. Oh, do you mean large? Sure, whatever. The first will be decaf, 3 cream. The second, me. Actually, the coffee and cream is on the table right behind you. I put the cups on the counter. Me. You just pour it yourself. Him. You don't pour it for us? Nope, but this way you can make it just the way you like it. Not the first time I've said this. And you can even get a free refill. Him. Can you just do it for us, please? Sorry, that's not how we work here, unfortunately. He huffs. Ugh, well I guess we'll just have to do it ourselves then. He grabs the cups and starts to walk back to his table. Me. Hey, sorry, that's actually going to be $6. Oh, we'll just pay you afterwards. We actually ask for it up front, if you don't mind. Him. We go to that other place up the street all the time. They don't charge us until afterwards. Me. Unfortunately, we're not them. If we get busy, you could easily just walk out without paying. Ugh, fine. He slams down exactly $6. There, are you happy now? Yep, thank you very much. But we are probably never coming back here again. He heads to his table, and I can hear them loudly talking. We have to pour it ourselves? Are they going to pay us to do it? Let's go to the other place next time. As they filled up their coffees, one of them quirked. I guess I'm going to be the employee of the month here now. They stayed for about half an hour and made sure they all refilled their coffees before they left. I quit shortly after that, not because of them. so not sure if they ever came back or not. Speaking of coffee, do you drink coffee yourself? If so, how do you take it? Please leave a comment letting me know. Karen tries to take my 10,000 euro telescope. I am into stargazing and deep sky photography, like the Andromeda Galaxy, since I was about 8 years old and acquired quite a bit of hardware over the years. My most expensive setup is my deep sky photography setup, which cost around 10,000 to 12,000 euro to buy new. It is also my smallest setup, as I picked it to be mobile and lightweight, so it looks rather unimpressive. Also important, it can only be used for photography. You cannot look through it by yourself, so it's useless without a very decent camera. Usually, I carry 2 other setups with me, one with a high focal length and one with a short one. Both are Doppler telescopes, which mainly means they are very stable but heavy as heck, 43 and 54 kilograms in total. Both, all in all, roughly 2,000 euro. Once a year, I go on a camping trip with my best friend to Finland. We enjoy the low light pollution and the cold weather a lot. We usually set up the telescopes right at the start and leave the 2 big ones outside for the whole duration of the stay and have the expensive one out only when we need it. It is quite normal that people are very interested, and we are more than happy to show and explain to them the basics, even though most are disappointed by the huge quality difference between what you see on a photo and with the naked eye. On to the story. We had all telescopes out, hoping to stack some nice M31 images and get a few good looks. Just as we started, a mother and her daughter came up to us. She asked us what we were doing, and my friend happily explained it to them and showed them some closer stuff in one of the telescopes, while I was preparing the photography setup and programming everything. This went on for a few minutes, and after a while, the mother jokingly, not really, suggested that we should give her daughter one of our telescopes, as we are only 2 people and do not need 3 telescopes. We explained to her that the different body types are for different applications, thus we need all. We also told her that our telescopes are quite expensive, but that she could buy her daughter some beginner ones for around 200 to 400 euro. Of course, she was not going to have that and told her daughter to test the small, expensive, and just set up telescope. I could luckily stop her before she did any harm to my aim and explained the price of the setup and that our time actually runs short and we need to start soon. Of course, she did not believe a single word I said and claimed it would be a 50-year-old toy and perfect for her daughter, but we eventually got rid of her, just a little bit after schedule, which is fine for such objects. We went on with our night, had some successful shots, and somewhere around 1 a.m. decided it's time to go to sleep. So I quickly took the photography setup in the car and blocked the Doppler mounting to its corresponding telescope so it cannot be moved anymore unless you move it all at once. Self-made locking mechanism, very proud. We went to our tents, and while my friend was probably already sleeping, I was still on my phone for an hour or so until I heard some noise outside. Hoping it would either be people seeing the northern lights or some wild animal like a fox, I got my shoes and sneaked outside just to see a small person in the dark, desperately trying to carry our biggest 54-kilogram telescope away. It took me a second to understand what was going on, and as I realized it, the person saw me as well and just went off as if nothing ever happened in a fast pace. Sadly, I was not fast enough in my thinking to follow the person, but I am still absolutely certain it was the mother who was trying to steal one of our telescopes, and as we would not give her the small one, which she thought is cheap, she decided she would take the biggest one, which was actually the cheapest, but looks the most expensive due to its size. We have been very lucky that no calibrations were needed after the rough handling, as every single screw has to be perfectly accurately set, which can take hours without the right equipment. And we also have been very lucky to never see that woman and her daughter ever again. For our next holiday, I am getting us a long stainless steel chain so we can lock the 2 big telescopes together for some extra security. Thank you for reading my first ever bad camping experience. May this never happen to any of you. Do you have a telescope, or have you ever looked through one? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, Karen thinks I work there, loses it when I help her anyway. So I don't know why, but for some reason it seems like everywhere I go, I get asked if I work there. For reference, I'm a dress comfy type of person and I live in southern Florida. So on normal days, when I'm just out doing whatever and not working, you can usually find me in capri workout/yoga pants and a t-shirt of some sort and flip-flops. Maybe it's because I keep my phone on a clip on my side since those kinds of pants usually don't have pockets. Heck, I don't know. Most of the time, when people ask and I smile and politely say, "I'm sorry, no," and they apologize sheepishly and walk away. Except this lady. Cast. We've got Entitled Woman, we've got Entitled Woman's husband, and we've got me. So I was out shopping at a thrift store because I like to go find things to buy and fix up, or use to make other things as a side gig for some extra money. I'm minding my own business, looking through clothing that I could use as fabric for a project when this lady walks up to me. I should mention that this particular thrift store has another thrift store literally next door. There's just a fence that separates the two parking lots and buildings. Entitled Woman. Excuse me? You. I turn and look at her, questioningly, I'm sure. She's probably in her 60s or 70s, well-dressed, typical South Florida snowbird from the looks of it. Her husband is half following her, half looking at stuff along the way as she's coming towards me. Entitled Woman. Do you work here? Before I can even answer. Do you know, is today the all clothes are $1 day? That lady over there, gesturing to nobody in particular, said it was. Me. Actually, I don't work here, but this store doesn't do that. That's the store next door. I think they do have that going on today because it's this day of the week, but I haven't been over there yet. She doesn't even acknowledge that I've spoken to her. No thank yous, sorry for bothering you, nothing, and walks away. I let it go, no big deal, I just answered her question, whatever. Well, that should have been the end of it, and aside from being a bit irritating that she couldn't be bothered to acknowledge that I'd spoken to her or anything else, again, no big deal. About 15 minutes later, her husband walks over to where she's at, about 3 racks away from me, still looking through clothes. Entitled Woman's husband. What the heck, Entitled Woman? What in Sam heck are you doing with all those clothes? I see she has a cart literally overflowing with clothing items. What? They're only $1. That girl that works here just told me that. Points at me. Entitled Woman's husband. Like heck she did. You must be deaf. That girl told you that the dollar clothes were next door. I was standing right there when she said it. They don't do that here. Entitled Woman. Well, she's the one that said they were. I don't want all this stuff at regular price. She pushes her cart pretty hard at me. Since you told me they were $1 and they're not, you can put them all back. Me. I didn't, and I still don't work here. I told you that as well when you clearly weren't listening. She turned on her heel and stomped out. Her husband just kind of looked at me like, what the heck, before I could see his expression turn to anger, and he quickly went after her. She didn't come back in, but I did see them outside in the parking lot when he went out after her, and it looked like she was getting a pretty good earful from him. I felt bad and asked the lady that did work there if she wanted help putting the stuff up. Her response? No, you don't work here. We laughed a bit as she rang me out and I went on my way. But seriously, where are these people raised to think that behavior like that is acceptable? I really want to know. Do you have any idea where people like this are raised? If so, please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Karen causes me extra hours of work because the sound was too loud for her little angel. A little bit of backstory. I do the projection in the church and occasionally the lights. I am 15 years old and I love tech. I use a Mac to do the projections of the songs in the church and have had a few encounters with entitled people, but this one is the cream of the crop. There are 2 places where we have services. One is for the kids, about 200 of them, and the other for the adults, about 1,000, while there are always 3 techies present in the services for the adults, but mostly 1 techie for the kids. I do the light there when I'm alone and the projection, and someone sets up the sound and then leaves. That person is the sound guy. This day, there was just a service for the kids, and that's why I was alone. There's a cable that goes from the Mac straight up for 7 meters, and it's attached to the ceiling. It has never been an issue before. We've got me, we've got entitled daughter, we've got entitled mother. The techies, people who do sound and projection and lights, have a podium with 2 openings on the side and a large desk where all equipment needed stands on. The Mac is in the middle, so that's where I sat. Let's get on with the story, shall we? The sound techie already set up all the audio and everything was good to go. I don't know anything about the sound. I set up the lights, different colors, etc., and the projection. First encounter. Entitled daughter comes up to the podium and says, "Turn the lights down." Really entitled. I say no. She says, "Why?" And I say, "Well, the lights are not too bright, and it looks better this way." She was disappointed, but she sat down. Second encounter. Entitled daughter comes up to me again, and she says, "The music is too loud." Really loudly, when she was only 2 meters away from me. The sound wasn't really that loud, so I said, "No, it's perfectly fine." She said, "You're annoying," really loudly, and went angrily back to her seat. Then, after 10 minutes, she got up and left. I thought nothing of it, as she probably had to go to the bathroom. But she came back with her mom. Enter entitled mom. She was rocking the Karen haircut and had this angry expression on her face, and she was coming straight towards me. She said, "Turn the volume and the lights down." I said, "No, I'm not allowed to touch the sound mixer, and even if I was, I still wouldn't do it, and I won't turn the lights down." Then entitled mom said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." She came up to the podium, and I said, "You can't come here," and I guarded the tech by standing in front of her when she was trying to get past me. The singers were still singing, but I couldn't do the text because I had to stop entitled mom. The text is really important because it's what allows everyone to sing along. But I heard the kids not singing anymore because they didn't know what to sing. The Mac requires my constant focus to do the projection, and this entitled daughter came from the other opening while I was holding her mom back and trying to calm her down. She was screaming and saying, "Let me turn it down. Let me turn it down for my little angel." And she was making quite a scene. Now I saw the entitled daughter from the corner of my eye tugging a rope that went all the way to the ceiling. My brain took 10 seconds to process this. But it was too late. The entitled daughter tugged so hard, the whole cable came down with the projector and it fell 7 meters. I ran to entitled daughter and said, "What did you do?" Now the entitled mom was pulling the cables out of the back of the audio mixer and screaming at me for not listening to my elders. While I was focusing on the entitled daughter and heard a loud screech from all boxes, I had to run behind the podium to flip the main electric switch from that hall to not let the horrible sound continue. Now some of the people went to entitled mom and entitled daughter while they were trying to steal the Mac and held them while someone else called the police. Afterwards, me and 5 other techies had to hire a platform to get everything to the ceiling again. And we were busy for hours trying to get the software for the audio and lights and Mac back into working order. Speaking of Mac, what do you prefer, Mac or PC? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, couldn't be any more obvious. I had received my paycheck this Thursday, and since my father was out of town for the week for work, I decided to help him out a bit more and buy his part of the groceries for the week along with my own. We usually go grocery shopping together on the weekends, but we each buy our own things since we eat different foods. Me saving up my money by getting basic ready-to-eat food like ramen noodles, potatoes, bread, eggs, stuff I know I can last a week with $10 or so, while he spends a bit more for meat, vegetables, certain ingredients, etc. Since he'd be spending a bit more money on gas for the trip back home this Sunday, I figured he probably wouldn't have too much to spend for his groceries once he got back. So I wrote down a list on my phone of the things he usually gets when we shop. Luckily, he always buys pretty much the same stuff every week, so I know what to get. Fast forward to today, Friday morning. I get up pretty early to cash my check and head to the store near my house before the lines get pretty long, as it would get colder later during the day when I'd have to return home. I make it to the store, and it seems like it's about to start filling up. So I grab a cart and start making my way through the aisles and get what we need. I fill my cart pretty quick with what I need, walking along, picking things off the shelf when I turn to the next aisle and see a woman with her cart parked sideways, blocking the area off as she looks up at an employee on a ladder reaching things off a high shelf, presumably for her. She's huffing and looking around impatiently, seemingly annoyed. I figure, poor guy, having to deal with entitled stuck-up Karen, which was odd since she didn't look like a Karen. I turned my cart to go to the next aisle, hoping she wouldn't be blocking off the area once I returned. But because my cart was getting full, it was quite heavy, and I slowly reversed and turned around. Unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough to leave and might have either made eye contact, she read my mind and noticed I called her Karen, or was annoyed that I sympathized with the employee and not her, because he was just an employee while she needed him to hurry up because she needed to pick up Jeffrey from soccer practice. Anyway, she noticed me and my turning my cart around as she turned and began speed walking towards me. At first, I didn't think anything of it. She probably saw something on a lower shelf she needed and went to pick it out. It was only when I was halfway in the next aisle when I heard her footsteps jog up next to me and grabbing my cart, actually calling out in a quite polite tone, "Excuse me." I was surprised at first, wondering why she'd go out of her way to stop a complete stranger in a polite manner, especially from seeing her from afar looking peeved and annoyed at an employee mere seconds ago. I quickly stopped my cart before I accidentally hit her or run over her foot, as after grabbing my cart, she stood in front of it. I thought maybe it's an emergency, but again, why go up to a stranger when the store associate was right there? Either way, I'm always polite to everyone I meet, and thus the conversation begins. Me, caught off guard. "Oh, yes? What's wrong? Can I help you?" Karen, still sounding polite. "Yes, I need your help." Me, "What is it?" "Come with me," as she begins to walk away. Me, "Okay." I start slowly turning my cart again to follow her. No, leave the cart there." Me, confused, but still thinking she may need actual help with something. Leave my cart to the side so I don't block the aisle and follow her. Oh, okay. Karen leads me to the previous aisle she was blocking, and her tone of voice changes. "Go get another ladder and help out your fellow associate here. He's having trouble taking items off the shelf quickly, and I want to get to the checkout line before it gets too long. You can finish stocking things later." Me, letting out a small chuckle. "Oh, sorry. I don't actually work here. I'm actually doing my own shopping." Karen, "Oh, please. I'm sure you can spare a bit of your time helping me out. Just get a ladder and help me with the things I need off those high shelves. Stocking everything doesn't take so long. I'm sure you've been here all morning putting things away anyway." Me, "I can't help you with that. Sorry, I don't work here, like I said. I'm actually just a customer, just like you. Maybe you can find an actual employee, or I can walk around shopping, and if I see someone, I can tell them someone needs assistance in your aisle." Karen, "Look, I really don't have time for this. Either get another ladder or leave if you don't want to help." The actual employee that was up on the ladder must have finally looked down, as I'm sure he was still picking her items or moving some stuff around, and pointed out to Karen. Excuse me, ma'am. He's not an employee." Karen looked up at him, then back at me, and finally noticed that I, in fact, wasn't an employee. The employee uniform at this store is a blue collar shirt with black dress pants and black dress shoes. I was wearing black jeans with a tear in the knee, white sneakers, a black t-shirt with a tuxedo design, and a gray hoodie and a beanie. I understand me walking around quickly with a cart full of stuff may look like I'm a stalker trying to work quietly, but as for the uniform, I have no idea. Karen, looking a bit embarrassed. "Oh, sorry." Me, No, it's okay. It's all right." I make my way back to my cart and proceed to finish up my list and head to checkout, pay, and head on home. It was nice in a way to see a Karen quickly turn from snobby and stuck up to genuinely apologetic for making a mistake and owning up to it. Although rare, not the first time I've seen a Karen, but definitely my first interaction with one. Next we've got, undercut me on a job by doing poor work? Okay, just wait and see. I was an observer in this whole affair, but to say I didn't enjoy the heck out of it would be a lie. Company A did fencing, walls, barriers, etc. Company A was run by Bob. Bob was a real upstanding guy, took over the business from his father, and really grew it into something big. Bob had an employee, Jake. Jake had been with Company A for quite a few years, but Bob and Jake always rubbed off on each other in the wrong ways. Bob always felt like Jake was the king of shortcuts and shoddy workmanship. When Bob took over the company from his dad, Bob applied more pressure on Jake to bring up the quality of his work or be let go. Eventually, Jake got tired of the increased pressure and quit and formed his own fencing company called Company B. Here is where I come in. I started a job in a company providing business services to small to medium-sized businesses in the area, and both Company A and Company B became my clients. This was several years after Company B had formed. From my outside viewpoint, Company A was that local company that's been around forever that does good quality work that you can trust, but they aren't going cheap. They never try to be cheap, but you can trust them. Company B was the young startup who was cutting corners and being competitive in every way possible, often by lying or misleading its customers. That's when Company C comes in. Company C was building a production facility in the area and wanted a wall with gates around its new production facility. This was going to be a big contract, and really the only two players in the area that could possibly do this job was Company A or Company B. This contract was worth a lot. If my memory serves me correctly, the job was somewhere near 7 figures. Company A and Company B went to go bid. Company B came in at like a 30% lower price point, and even though Bob tried to explain it wasn't possible for Company B to do the work that was promised at the price point that was given, of course, money talks, and Company B got the contract. I remember Bob was furious in his eyes. He felt what Jake was doing was wrong. He didn't mind fair competition, but Jake's MO has always been way underbid, overpromise, rely on cost overruns to make a profit. Bob's opinion on business was a price is a price, and if he says he's going X for Y, he's going to do X for Y, even if he loses money. It's how he was raised. Some time goes by, and Bob gets a call from Company C. They've apparently fired Jake and his company due to not being able to do the work required, and ask Bob if he can come in and fix the mistakes. Bob agrees and gets the job done. At this point, Bob starts thinking, he's got to take Jake out. Jake is taking too much money out of his pocket. Bob comes up with the idea of buying Jake out, but Bob knows if he approaches Jake, regardless of what he offers to pay, Jake is going to say no. So Bob has got to be smart. Bob is talking to me about this during one of our meetings. We had become quite close, and I tell Bob, I bet there are lawyers out there who specialize in helping other companies acquire other companies. Bob asks me if I know of any. I don't, but I did have a client who specialized in business law who would be more familiar with this whole thing. I give Bob his contact info, and Bob thanks me. Bob contacts the lawyer and tells the lawyer what he would like to do. The lawyer tells Bob a lawyer who used to work for him now works for a firm that specializes in mergers and acquisitions, and if Bob wanted to buy out Jake's company, he's confident this firm could get it done. Also, this firm was in the big city, far away from the small community, so it's unlikely Jake would know what's truly going on. Bob contacts the firm and says he wants to buy out his competitor and would like to enlist their services. Now this is already getting a bit longer, so I'll get to the point. This firm ended up buying Jake's company, lock, stock, and barrel, and gave the company to Bob. All the while, Jake was completely oblivious to the fact that his arch enemy had just acquired his very own company. I recall Bob describing to me the day he walked into Jake's company with such delight. Bob was told he owned the company. Jake had been paid and was expecting to meet the new owner of the company that pleasant Monday morning. Jake was given the title of general manager and was considered second in command now. So Bob walked into the building that once belonged to Jake with his documents and the lawyer that had helped him acquire the firm, who Jake was familiar with. Bob walked into Jake's office to Jake's surprise. Jake. Hi, Bob. Bob. Hi, Jake. How are you? I'm good. What are you doing here? Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd come check out my newly acquired business. Jake. Huh? Bob. Jake, you sold your company to me. I did what? No, I didn't. I sold it to XYZ. XYZ is the law firm I hired to organize the transaction. I am now the owner. Jake. That's BS. Bob. Here's your documents. Lawyer who Jake was familiar with confirmed this was all true. So, you're now my boss? Yes. Now get up. That's my chair, and I'm tired. I want to sit down for a minute. Jake. This is my office. Bob. This is my company, and I have decided that this office is now my office. so I'm going to need you to get out of my chair. Jake gets out of the chair. Great. Well, have a seat, Jake. Jake. Thanks. Bob. Jake, I think the first order of business today is getting rid of redundancies. What do you mean? Well, you see, Jake, whenever a company acquires another company, you get overlap, redundancies, 2 HR departments, 2 secretaries, 2 accountants, etc. But now it's all one company. So now you got redundancies, overlaps, which is quite frankly a waste of money. Jake. Yeah? Bob. And I don't need 2 owners working for one company. And he laughs and told me he had the biggest grin on his face. Jake, it's become apparent that your services are no longer required, and effective immediately, you are terminated. Jake protested. Bob. The decision is final. You may collect your personal belongings and leave the premises. What time did you get into work this morning? 7 a.m. Great. So you've been here for 2 hours. I'll make sure payroll pays you for 2 hours on the agreed upon rate and the buyout agreement. Have a nice day. Jake. So you're just firing me? Just like that? Yep. Should have done this long ago. What about my family? Jake, I just bought your company from you and paid you a lot of money. You'll be fine. Now get out of my office and out of my building. And that is how Bob acquired and fired an employee he should have fired long before. Some background. I remember the day vividly when Bob scheduled an appointment with me to go over Company B's services and negotiate a new service contract with us. It was the day Bob had fired Jake. Bob was in a great mood, one of the best moods ever. We did the business we needed to handle, and Bob said, PJ, you helped me a lot get this all done. I'd like to invite you out to dinner and drinks, and let's watch Monday Night Football together. I really hadn't. I said, Bob, I really didn't do much. He said, oh yes you did. You pointed me in the right direction. I go, well, that's the least I could do. He said, very well. Still, I'd like to take you out to dinner and drinks if that's all right with you. Now, I'm not one to turn down free beer and food, so I agreed. And that night, Bob and I went to a local hangout and watched Monday Night Football and ate and drank as Bob recounted this whole experience with such joy. Bob later rebranded Jake's company as a commercial-only enterprise and refocused his main company on residential, and both companies still exist today and are run by Bob and his son now. Do you feel sorry for Jake at all? If so, why or why not? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Karen was my principal. So my high school reunion is coming up this year, and I've already received my invitation to RSVP ahead of time in the mail. I didn't really enjoy high school, so I might not go. That is a story for another subreddit. This is the story about how an entitled woman became our principal and made everyone miserable. So my sophomore year, an old principal finally retired. He had been there for years. It was just time for him to retire. Now we all thought the job would go to the assistant principal. He was qualified for the job, well liked by the students, and he also had been there for years. For this story, I'll call him Mr. Cool. Mr. Cool was liked by everyone. He would loan students lunch money if they needed it, sign permission slips, give us a pass if we were running late for class for a reason like we couldn't get our locker open or we got held up in another class, and would even perform magic tricks. We thought he would be the new principal. Nope. Somehow, our entitled woman snatched the job. I will call her Karen. Karen was just a horrible person. We don't even know how she got the job. Rumor had it she used her husband's position as member of the school board to get the job. Possible this is true, but I am not sure. My little town does do some shady stuff. Karen immediately started enacting strict and harsh rules on us. Here are some that I remember. 1. If you were late to lunch, you didn't eat. In her words, you should have been here before the doors closed if you were hungry. 2. No more vending machines. We had a small area by the auditorium that had a couple soda machines and 3 snack machines. We were only allowed in the area during free time between lunch and our 4th hour class or after school. She had the machines removed, saying the reason was, we don't need to be eating that junk food. Instead, she set up a table with things like bottled water and fresh fruit. No one really bought it since a bottle of water was $3.50, when at the machine, it would have only cost us 75 cents. Drinks now had to be inspected by teachers. It was a very stupid rule. She claimed that students had been sneaking things in and pretending it was water. If you had a drink with you, first you showed it to your teacher. They all got tiny plastic cups to take a small sample and drink it to test it. You then got a small note to show other teachers the drink passed. The rule was ridiculous. Many of the teachers didn't do it. They knew we were good kids. Seniors could no longer wear their class/Letterman jacket. This rule upset everyone. As a senior, if you had bought a class jacket or earned a Letterman from sports or clubs, you were allowed to wear it as part of your school uniform. She banned this. You got sent to the office if you were caught wearing it on school grounds. The jackets could even be confiscated. The list goes on. I could go on all day listing the crazy things this lady did. It was that bad. School became miserable. She even had cameras set up near the bathrooms to catch us smoking. No one smoked since all the bathrooms had smoke detectors. If you smoked, you went behind the music building like everyone else. Anyway, my senior year, Karen went full-on crazy. There were cameras everywhere now. New rules like no talking between classes and no backpacks. I couldn't wait to graduate. Now, while I was a sophomore, a girl in the freshman class was in a boating accident. My senior year, a group of students, including myself, got together to make shirts to remember her. They wanted to wear them to school, so of course we needed Karen's permission. The shirts weren't crazy, mind you. They were black, with the girl's picture on it saying something along the lines of that she hasn't been forgotten. We only wanted to wear them for one day. One day. We go to Karen's office, explain what we want to do, and ask if we can. She explodes on us. I'll cut her rant short. Karen, this is not part of the school uniform. Anyone caught with one of these shirts will be suspended for 3 days. Student, we just want to remember her. She would be a junior this year. We'll tuck them in as part of the uniform, and they are black. Our uniform was black, white, or green shirts. Karen, I said no. Do not bring them on school property. Honestly, you need to move on. Several students, including myself, left her office in tears over this. I even called my mom to pick me up because I couldn't stop crying. The next day, I found out that many students just walked out their classes and left. They performed a walkout in protest. Karen was furious. She gave some students like a month of detention for this. Furthermore, she doubled down on disrespecting students who had passed. When a member of the senior class passed due to cancer, she made an announcement saying, "Anyone caught leaving flowers, notes, or idling around students' lockers will be sent to detention. This is a place of learning. You can mourn at home." Teachers were even told to send crying students to the office. They did not. Other members of staff tried to reason with her, including Mr. Cool. She threatens to have him fired. Anyone who tried to stand up to her was threatened with losing their jobs or being written up. Not even her own son was safe. She kicked her son out of the house when she learned he was dating a girl she didn't like. I wish I was making this up. His father divorced her. Her son was 16 and she kicked him out of her house because he refused to break up with the girl. Finally, by some grace of every god known to man, it's time for graduation. Now at my school, seniors got out of school 2 weeks early to handle our affairs. In those 2 weeks, we cleaned out our lockers, turned in books, got yearbooks, and there was a small ceremony for those who got scholarships. We also had to practice for the actual graduation ceremony. This meant spending hours in the hot Louisiana sun while we marched up and down the football field. Everything had to be perfect for Karen. Oh, and we already had been warned not to throw our hats. Anyone caught throwing their caps after the ceremony will not be given their high school diploma. And I'll be calling your parents. Karen was at every practice. One of the students was heavily pregnant and asked to sit down once to rest. Karen, not my fault you got pregnant. If you don't practice, you will not be walking come the ceremony. I better not see you sitting or slowing down everyone else. How our blood boiled at this. Oh no, hold on, it gets even worse. You've read this much, so let me put the cherry on top of her entitlement cake. Our class valedictorian had cerebral palsy. Now, he had the highest GPA in the whole school, a perfect GPA. Smart as a whip and super nice, sweet, and everyone loved him. Every girl said he was their boyfriend. The valedictorian always gives the speech and helps hand out the fake paper diplomas for the ceremony. Now, he was in a wheelchair as he could no longer walk on his own and had an assistant to help him get back and forth from classes. Karen told everyone that he would not be allowed to give his speech or allowed on the stage. Why? He doesn't speak very loudly. No one in the crowd will be able to understand what he says because of his disorder. Someone else will have to read the speech and assist in handing out diplomas. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, including members of the staff and my senior class, refused to read the speech or take his place. He had earned being valedictorian. We told our parents, who went to the school board. I wish I could say Karen was fired, but she wasn't. Instead, she was just forced to allow him on the stage to hand out the diplomas, but she didn't let him give his speech. Instead, she read it, which was heartbreaking for him. I was so happy to get away from that woman. As a last form of protest, when everyone had gotten their diplomas, we all threw our caps. Caps everywhere. We still got our diplomas. Today, Karen is no longer at the school. The story I heard was that she was fired after she humiliated a group of students in a school assembly over their weight. Parents got lawyers involved, and the school board didn't want a lawsuit. Mr. Cool is acting principal. Sorry this is such a long story, but this woman was the one reason I didn't enjoy school. She was miserable and entitled, who in turn forced everyone else to be miserable just like her. A monster of a Karen drunk on the power of being able to control the lives of high school students. How messed up can you be? Edit. Since some people are messaging with questions as to how this all went on for a whole year and even beyond when I graduated, I decided to make an update. First, keep in mind that this town is small. Our population peaked when we reached 6,000. That makes us only number 57 in large cities in Louisiana. We are known for some shady backroom local politics. This is how Karen was able to do the things she did to us with little to no consequences on her actions. She knew someone who knows someone who knows someone who can sweep this under the rug. The school board was known for letting things slide until they got enough angry phone calls from parents to try and do something to calm them down. Plus, my parents didn't believe some of the things that I had told them about. Your principal isn't denying students food, OP. Don't lie. I know high school is hard, but we have all been there before, blah blah. They didn't believe a lot of stuff. That is possibly why it took so long for her to finally be fired. My niece is now a junior. Karen got fired when she was a freshman. I believe because a few of the students were military, and thanks to the military base, our town gets extra income. They apparently got money for every military kid in the school. The last thing the school or town wanted was for the military to pull all those kids out of the school and send them to schools only on their base. They had threatened this before. The general at the time made it very clear he could have a high school built, staffed, and pull every military kid out of that school in a heartbeat. I know the story might not sound true, but I promise it is. Karen was bitter, entitled, and self-centered. She just hated everyone and everything. Have you ever had a teacher or a principal who was entitled? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, I've given you my money, now do your job. Sir, you're not our customer. I work for one of the largest Scandinavian airlines at the check-in desks. I encounter some of humanity's worst on a daily basis, but this one in particular stood out to me. It started when I noticed that my coworker at the desk next to me was being berated by this older man. There were no passengers waiting to be checked in at the time, so I ended up listening in on the conversation. In a strangely calm tone, this man was letting out a steady stream of accusations mixed in with total nonsense. Man, I will be contacting all the newspapers to let them know about how you are scamming people out of their money. This is your responsibility to fix, so you will have to fix it. Coworker, I'm very sorry. However, due to this ticket, I gave you my money. So are you going to fix this? This conversation kept looping pretty much exactly like this over and over, without my coworker ever getting enough time to explain the problem to the passenger without being cut off. I quietly asked coworker if he needs me to call for a supervisor, but to my surprise, he responded that everything was going great with a grin on his face. With me butting in into the conversation, it finally created enough room for my coworker to finally explain to the passenger what the problem was. Coworker, sir, you are traveling with R Air, established Irish low-budget airline. We work for S Air. What do you want us to do? Without hesitation, the older man continues to tell coworker off. It is S-Air that got my money, so it's your people who are going to fix my ticket. Coworker, there's nothing we can do with this ticket, as it's for a different airline that we have no affiliation with. If you want our help, you will have to visit our ticket office. He points in the direction of the ticket office. Man, I've already given you my money. Why would I give you even more? At this point, it's been over 20 minutes of this, and both me and coworker are starting to get fed up by this man's antics, and I walk around the corner to stand next to the man. I gesture towards the ticket office, and as politely yet forcibly as I possibly could, I shut down the conversation by telling him that there is nothing we can do for him at the check-in counter and that he will have to go to the ticket office for help. He grumpily starts walking towards the office while continuously telling us how bad at our job we are. And that was the end of it. Or so I thought. About an hour passes by, and I've switched over to helping people out with the self-check-in machines. I'm having a conversation with my supervisor about nothing of any importance when suddenly the man returns. He immediately makes a beeline to my supervisor and starts his rambling again, with the only addition from the previous ramble being him telling her how we had apparently managed to talk to the boss. He made air quotes as he said this, about something. He started to become illegible at this point, but he pretty much regurgitated the conversation we had earlier. My supervisor immediately realizes what kind of situation it was and pretty much ended up ignoring him, helping another passenger who was an actual customer of ours, leaving him to continue complaining to the only other worker there, me. Man, this is nothing personal towards you, but... And the previous beratements continues on, loop again, with another addition that airlines should not be allowed to sell tickets through mobile apps, and that he is going to contact politicians about it to change the rules, and that he is going to speak to the president of the S-Air, so that he, the president of S-Air, can talk to the president of our air, so that he, the president of our air, had to speak to his employees about how to treat their customers. Again, everyone he's spoken to up until this point works for S-Air. Turns out, this man had bought a ticket with our air through a travel agency without checking which airport the departure was from. The airport I work at does not have any our air departures or arrivals at all. This man was at the wrong airport, demanding us to check him in at a different airline, refusing to believe us when we told him he's not our customer. In the end, he ended up just leaving. The funny thing is, he was only going to Copenhagen, which there are many very easy ways to get to. He ended up spending almost 2 hours at the wrong airport telling us to do someone else's job. Even if he had just bought another plane ticket or gotten on a much cheaper train, he would have been well on his way by then. Speaking of airlines, what was the last airline you flew on? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Entitled Dad Tries to Date the Teacher. Cast. We've got Entitled Dad. We've got Poor Kid, who was most likely just doing what his dad told him. We've got Awesome Teacher. We've got Cool Principal. We've got My Boyfriend. And me. On to the story. This started at the beginning of the school year. I started as the English teacher's assistant. We had classes from 4th grade to 6th grade, plus junior and senior year. Obviously, not every grade every day, but rather usually 2 grades per day. Long story short, we had classes with 4th grade Mondays and Thursdays. My first Monday working starts, and the English teacher, Awesome Teacher, the lovely old lady that helped me get the job, made it clear that just because I was young didn't mean that they wouldn't respect me, and that I was going to also be helping them with school. Surprisingly, they are really nice and well behaved. It's usually from 6th grade up that I've seen kids start acting up. I tried to bond with all the students since I feel that it's better to gain their trust rather than just forcing them to work and then watch them struggle. Here is where I met Poor Kid. A week goes by, and that's usually when we do a parent-teacher meeting to discuss how kids have adapted. This is for kids from 1st to 6th grade. Awesome Teacher wanted me to be in the meeting to learn how the dynamics work. Here is where we met Entitled Dad. Taken counts, he was in his early 40s, and I had recently turned 18. Awesome Teacher had gone to the bathroom when he came in, and the conversation went somewhat like this. Entitled Dad.
Hi, so are you Poor Kid's teacher?
Me. Oh no, sorry. She will be back in a second. Entitled Dad.
Wait, by any chance are you...
My name? Yeah, that's me.
No way. Poor Kid was talking about this cool new teacher that he had. By the way, He was talking about how it would be nice if you could hang out with us sometime.
Me, visibly uncomfortable. Sorry, I'm just a teacher's assistant here, and it's my job to help students. Finally, awesome teacher walked in and talked to the entitled dad about poor kid's progress. Next day rolls by, and some students brought gifts for awesome teacher and me. Very common where we live, and most of them were small candies or chocolates. So, safe to say, kids at least liked me. Everything was okay until I saw the entitled dad again. English was the last class of their school schedule, 3 p.m. Awesome teacher stays with the class until they get picked up. But since I had the study group at 3:30, I usually left before most of the students. This day, however, entitled dad came to pick up poor kid early. Entitled dad.
So, did you get my number?
Me. What?
My number. It was in the chocolates I sent.
Me. Sorry, but having that type of contact with the parents is unprofessional, and I'd rather you not continue with that attitude.
Oh no, I was just wondering if you could tutor poor kid. He's been having trouble with English.
It's barely week 2, and no, poor kid was good at English. Me. I'm sorry, but I'm busy all week. If you would like a tutor, you have to discuss it with awesome teacher.
But if you are free on weekends, you can come to our house.
Quickly, I said I couldn't and left. For the next couple of weeks, he would pick up poor kid early and try to talk to me with the excuse of it being about poor kid's progress, but he would try to bring up my personal life. Fast forward to second week of February. I get a friend request from none other than entitled dad. I have 2 accounts, one that I have pretty much anyone that I like to keep in contact with, and a Finsta, where I only have close friends. He tried to add me on my more open account, and before I denied it, I saw a DM that basically gave me a sob story about him going through a tough divorce and that he only wanted to be in contact with me to discuss about poor kid and make sure the divorce didn't affect him. Me being dumb and naive, I accepted the request. It started more innocent, like,
How was poor kid today?
But he quickly brought up my personal life and started questioning about my boyfriend. Now that's another story on itself, but I'll write it for you to have context. Boyfriend and I officially started dating December 1st, 2018, but I was still working with improving my self-esteem and learning how not to normalize toxic behaviors. Boyfriend basically told me that he loved me, but wanted me to love myself first, and if that meant me wanting to be with other or not having to rely on a relationship, he would understand, so we went on a break before I started working, but still kept hanging out and occasionally cuddling. We officially got back together on February 14th, 2019. But during the first weeks of February, we were quite flirty IRL and online. Everything was normal with the entitled dad until he started asking if the messages I posted on social media were about him. I should have just blocked him, but every day he would bring up the sob story. These messages were random I love yous and I wish you were here on my Insta story. Yeah, I was that annoying jerk, but stopped asking when I started uploading photos with my boyfriend. I just ignored him until one day boyfriend came to my house and randomly asked if I knew a guy named entitled dad. I was like, yeah, that's the father from a kid in my class. Then he showed me all the threatening texts he had from him, most of them telling boyfriend to get away from me. Instantly, I confronted entitled dad by sending him the screenshots of his messages to boyfriend and finally blocked him from social media and told him that any further contact would be at school only. The only reason I didn't report him this time was that he gave me this sob story that he was still hurt by his ex, and boyfriend's name was similar to the name of the guy his wife left him for, and he sent the messages while drunk. Me, still being naive and believing that people always tell the truth, I just left him on scene. But the next incident was what set everything off. A couple of days go by, and February 14th comes around. I was officially back with boyfriend and posted it on social media. I don't know how, but he still saw the picture, and the next day I saw that I had texts from an unknown number. They were from entitled dad. Basically, he was saying how could I have cheated on him, and that I was supposed to be with him, and that I was a good motherly figure to poor kid. Instantly, I blocked him. Monday morning comes around. I printed all the conversations and showed them to principal. She was equally disgusted with this entitled dad and told me she would deal with the matter. 2 days go by, and I got called to principal's office. There was a woman I didn't know. Turns out this was poor kid's mom. The entitled dad wasn't divorced, and from this brief meeting, I could tell the woman was really nice. Principal made sure to tell her that this incident was started by entitled dad and that I had blocked him and reported the incident, But I felt bad for this woman because she said that entitled dad had cheated on her multiple times, but she didn't leave him because of poor kid and because he was their main source of income. After they left, principal told me what happened. She threatened to call the cops on entitled dad if he still tried to contact me outside of school and told his wife of the problem. He stormed out, furious, and took poor kid out of school the first week of March. Apparently, they were moving to a safer part of the country. That's the last thing I knew about them. I just hope that poor kid and his mother are in a better place right now. Next we've got entitled jerk calls cops on us during a fishing tournament. This happened a few years ago when me and one of my close friends were in a fishing tournament that my mom had recommended for us to compete in. Everything was going good. We sat through the briefing, had a small breakfast, and set up for the big launch. After the air horn went off, I floored it while we were jamming out to Katy Perry and AC/DC. We get to the spot that we had scoped out the week before. It was a sunken boat near, laying about 10 feet down, and it was sitting on an edge, so it was prime territory for big bass. The tournament had allowed us to catch all bass, even stripes, and me and my friend were excited. We unbuckled our life vest, and I throw my friend his pole and grabbed mine. Our plan was for me to fish the edge with a jig, and my friend would fish with a jerkbait on top. Well, 2 hours pass, and we've caught our limit, and we're now just fishing to replace the smaller ones in the tank. We're still jamming out to music when I hear the roar of a boat engine behind us, and my friend heard it as well. We looked to see if it was one of our friends who were also in the tournament, and we would regularly check on each other to see if we're doing good. But it was this younger guy, probably late 20s, speeding towards us, and we're waving at him thinking he didn't see us. He's speeding closer and closer, then turns off his engine and turned his boat as quickly as possible and is now only about 20 feet from us. I didn't say anything because I was focused on fishing. My friend asked, "What's his deal, speeding up to us like that?" And the guy, and I quote, says, "You're fishing in my water." I was confused because we're a good 1/2 mile from any docks or houses. And my friend says, "Your water? It's a public lake." "No," says entitled person. "That's my boat under you, so it makes this my water." At this point, I was a little annoyed because I couldn't hear my music because of this guy yelling, and he was probably scaring away the fish. I jokingly told him, "You must be a few screws short to think that's a law." Entitled guy is now mad, saying, "You're a few screws short, you brat." Entitled guy keeps saying more insults, and my friend finally got annoyed and said, "Hey, you jerk, if you don't leave now, I'm swimming over to that boat and shoving your teeth down your throat." My friend was a linebacker for our school at the time, and he was pretty ripped and had a short temper, so I knew he was willing to swim over there. At this point, my friend was red with anger because he was mad this guy was messing with our spot and annoying us. My other friend, who was in the boat with his girlfriend at the point, saw our boat from across the way and pulled up to ask what was going on. I said, "Nothing much, except for Miley over here ruining our time," as I pointed over my shoulder. Well, entitled guy heard this and started yelling, "I'll have you know, I graduated at my high school top of my class and got a full ride because of it." We all started laughing because it was the first time hearing an insult like that before. He was super confused and finally said, "I'm calling the cops." My friend says, "For what? Because we're fishing over your boat?" Then we all laughed again. About 20 minutes later of arguing, the cops show up, and entitled guy said, "Haha, y'all will get what y'all deserve for laughing at me." We're not worried because we really haven't done anything wrong, except for my friend threatening him. I look over at the boat to see which cop it is because my buddy's girlfriend's dad was a cop that patrolled the lake, and sure enough, it's him. Me and the cop were already pretty good friends because he volunteered at the soap kitchen my friends and I volunteered at as well, and we became good friends. He jokingly said, "What trouble y'all getting into now? Disturbing the fishies?" We all laughed, even his partners in the boat, except for entitled guy who looked more upset than ever and screamed, "Arrest them!" The cop stayed pretty calm, and so did his partners. He calmly asked, "What for?" Entitled guy's stupid response, "Because I pay your paycheck, and they're fishing over my boat." And I kid you not, pointed at the water. The cop looked confused at first and said, "Sir, that's not a crime. They're not fishing near a public dock or fishing near a public swimming area. They're not doing anything wrong." Now entitled parent is furious and is saying, "I don't care. It's my boat and now my water. Arrest them."
or I'll call my dad.
Still staying calm, the cop said, "Well, we can't arrest them because you think so." An entitled guy said,
Fine, forget all of you.
and was about to drive off when one of the cops says, "Why do you have beer bottles in your boat?" Entitled guy responds,
None of your business.
The cop tells him to stay there and pull over to his boat and told him to come on board. Surprisingly, he obliged. Entitled guy is now yelling,
This is against the law to hold somebody in a boat without their permission.
and the OG said, "Not unless we have suspicions of what's on the boat." Entitled guy's face went blush, and the cops gave him a breathalyzer test, and then you hear the clicking of the handcuffs and the cop saying he's under arrest. And they set him on the seat and searched the boat to find 8 empty bottles. We're all just sitting there trying not to laugh. An entitled guy just bursts out,
Forget you all!
and started kicking. He kicked the cop, and the other cops wrestled him and put him in ankle cuffs and something else that made it impossible for him to move. The cops politely asked if we could please go fish somewhere else while this is handled. We obliged since the cop was one of our friends and they were just doing their job. So we headed our separate ways and ended up winning the tournament that day. Speaking of fishing, have you ever gone fishing or do you like to? Please leave a comment letting me know. Karen's behavior ends up getting her fired. To set the scene, this restaurant is a local upscale sushi bar with dim lighting and high booths. Working as a server here, we also act as hosts, bussers, and bartenders. It's also important to note that the owner is also the manager and is at the restaurant 24/7. Literally, he lives there. And that these ladies all worked for a local business in which they had their work shirts on. This particular day, we were dead for lunch, and both me and my coworker were in the office talking to the owner. 3 ladies walk in and seat themselves, ignoring the "please wait to be seated" sign. The phone rings, so my coworker leaves the office to answer, and it happens to be the 3 ladies sitting at the booth calling to get someone's attention, which is fair enough, a little annoying but effective. Coworker apologizes for the wait, takes their order, and goes about business. These ladies call her over to complain that they are on lunch and the food is taking too long. She apologizes and assured them it shouldn't be much longer. They then made a remark about having to call to get anyone's attention. This particular coworker is not someone who messes around. She has worked at the restaurant for years and is not the type to kiss someone's butt in these situations. Still, she kept her cool and walked off. The ladies got their food, then proceed to walk up to the sushi bar to talk with the owner about how rude coworker is. Coworker overheard and walks over to join the conversation, which ends in yelling and 2 of the ladies asking her to go outside. I eventually am asked to bring them the bill. They pay, stay, and talk for a second, and then leave. When we went to clean the table, these ladies had crushed up sushi rolls, left noodles and meat all over the table covered in teriyaki sauce with a note on the receipt that said, "Dumb jerk." The owner then proceeds to call their work and explain to the manager what they had done. The best part was they all paid separately and with debit cards, so we knew all of their names. A couple of hours later, a woman walks in, hands my coworker $50, apologizes for their behavior, and explains that she is the business owner who had worked her way through college as a server. She then lets her know that she did not want these kinds of people representing her company, and they had all been let go. This is one of my favorite stories from this crazy job, and I have an enormous amount of respect for the owners of both businesses involved. If anyone is interested in more stories from this place, I have a book's worth of tales. If you had employees who worked for you and they acted like this in a restaurant, would you fire them for it? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, entitled parents try to kick me out of my room. I'm currently taking classes away from home, and since I don't like the idea of living out of my car, I rented a room at a nearby bed and breakfast that houses students. Great owners, amazing rooms with private bathrooms, fast Wi-Fi, free use of state-of-the-art kitchen, and above all else, affordable. Of course, because the place I'm staying at is a B&B first, the owners request that I stay flexible during tourist seasons, which means I keep things at a ready-to-move status. Tourist patrons pay way more to stay here, so they take priority over room choice. Thankfully, tourist season only lasts from September 1st to October 22nd and from February 1st to the 18th and doesn't come without compensation. The owners have temporary rooms in their private residence. They call it the retreat, set up for students who have to move for tourists, as well as a contract stating that if any items left in our rooms are damaged or stolen by tourists, it will be fixed/replaced. Well, it's tourist season again, thanks to the nearby town's winter and Valentine's festivals that happen every February. I've been moved once so far, but it wasn't too bad. The owners called all the students into the common room to explain the room situation for the coming days. Alrighty then, housemate 1 and housemate 2, you're gonna stay the night up at the retreat. OP, you're the lucky one who gets to stay this time. Mind your manners and just do what you do. Later that day, I'm playing on my Xbox when I'm caught off guard as my door swings open and a family of 3 pour in. The lady sets down a couple of luggage bags while the kid starts running around the room. The mother takes one look at me and says, "I was told that you'd be moved out by now. Why are you still here?" I politely tell her that they may have the wrong room and that mine wasn't selected for patron use. "That's ridiculous. I specifically requested this room. You better leave now, or I'll be having a strongly worded conversation with the owner." I ask her to give me a second as I call up the owner. She gives me a, whatever. The owner picks up and I double check with him about my room. He confirms that they have the wrong room and that he'll be there shortly to work it out. I relay this information to the mother, who just doesn't accept this. "This is stupid. I asked for this room and I paid the fee, so you got to leave. Now!" The kid finally notices my Xbox. "Awesome! We have an Xbox while we stay here. Can I play it, Mom? Please?" The mom agrees, totally ignoring the fact that she has no right to allow her kid to use someone else's things. I keep the controller away from the kid and say that if I'm leaving, I'll be taking my Xbox with me. Her brat did not like that answer and began to wail like a banshee. "Now look what you've done. You've made my baby cry. He's going to be in a bad mood for the rest of our stay now. You better hope the owner is forgiving, because he's getting an earful when he shows up." All this is going on, and not a word has been breathed from the dad. He just stands behind his wife, arms crossed, and with a mildly discomforted look on his face. The owner finally shows up, and it goes like this. "Hello, folks. Sorry for the mix-up. Your room is taken up by this punk. We know. But this is the room I asked for, and it's the room we're getting, or we'll find somewhere else." "Ma'am, your bill states that you asked for room number 4. This is room number 5. I've already made the arrangements for room 4 to be used, so if you could just please follow me, we'll get your family set up." "No, this room has an Xbox video game entertainer." "Yes, she called it that." "And my son wants to use it while we stay here. It's this room or nothing." "You'll be hard-pressed to find another place with vacancy during the festival. Besides, it's just down the hall, and it's just as nice of a room." "Does it have an Xbox?" "I don't think." "Then it's this room, or we take the Xbox with us." I interject, saying that no one is taking or using my Xbox without my permission. "Why do you even have that thing anyways? You look like an adult, act like one, and quit playing childish video games." "Ma'am, it's room 4 or nothing, and I can assure you, it's not going to be easy to find a new place to stay. Even if you did, it won't be as nice as here." "Fine, I'll take it. But don't expect a review over 3 stars. She stomps out of the room, wailing brat and pack mule husband in tow. The owner gives me a yeesh look before apologizing and closing the door. That was 2 days ago, and they're still down the hall from me for another 2 days. The kid has had at least 4 very audible temper tantrums since then. God have mercy. Speaking of Xbox, what do you prefer, Xbox or PlayStation? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, do you check everyone's cart like that? I work at a warehouse chain that requires a membership to shop, and I'm trained in a variety of departments. One of them is front door asset protection. We check receipts at the door of the store. This is not so much to prevent theft as it is to prevent shrink from cashier error. 99% of people are cooperative, even when there is a mistake on their receipt. Cast. We've got me. We've got Customer Service Desk Employee 1, a close friend of mine. We've got Customer Service Desk Employee 2. We've got Rude Lady and Rude Lady's friend. The story. Today, I was scheduled the closing shift checking receipts at the front door. I should mention that the industrial heater we have near the front door of the store is broken at the moment, so it was around 45 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 degrees Celsius, at the door all day. Barely warmer than the current temperature outside. I was bundled in 3 layers, a hat, and gloves to barely stay warm for 5 hours, so I wasn't in the best mood. Rude Lady and Rude Lady's friend come up to me from the cashier service desk with a receipt and a carriage with 3 items in it, a case of water and 2 bunches of bananas. They hand me a receipt, which clearly says non-member, where the membership number and info would usually be. This means they don't have a membership with the chain and aren't supposed to be shopping at all, but someone made an exception and let them purchase a few items. They hand me the receipt and I start to look it over. There's only 1 item on it. The water. So I ask very nicely, "Do you have another receipt?" This actually happens quite a bit. People forget they did 2 separate transactions and only hand me 1 receipt. Also, if we suspect theft, which I never did throughout this entire exchange, we are required to ask if they have another receipt as a neutral way to start a conversation about a missed item. Rude Lady. Nope. Why? Me. It looks like only your water was charged on this transaction, but not the bananas. Rude Lady, yelling out of nowhere. Well, I paid for them. Do you check everyone's receipt like this? Me. Yes, I do. I show her the receipt, trying to indicate that only the water is on there. Oh, so you count all the items and all the cards? Go ahead, ask the lady at customer service. She knows I paid. I page customer service to the front door. They're only about 20 feet away, so it doesn't take long. Customer Service 1 comes over. Hi, can I help you? Rude Lady's friend. She didn't help us. That other girl did. Customer Service 2 was with another customer at the moment, so she couldn't come over. I quickly explain the situation to Customer Service 1, who relays the information to her colleague at the desk and awaits an answer. Customer Service 2. OP, she paid for those. She must have lost her receipt, but I did ring her up for them. Rude Lady's friend. See? Rude Lady. This is ridiculous. Do you really count everyone's card like this? Me. Yes. No, you don't. You know how I know? The guy in front of me had a full carriage of items, and you definitely didn't count all of them. At this point, I don't even know how to respond. Obviously, 3 items is a different situation than 50. When she had cut me off, I was actually about to explain how we are trained. If it's a small order, try to count everything. For larger orders, it's more common sense. Look for big items or items hidden underneath the carriage and verify a few smaller items in the carriage. The exception is large business orders, which we do have to check pretty much everything, no matter how long it takes, especially if tobacco is involved. Rude Lady, glaring at me. You can give my receipt back now and help the next person. Me, starting to lose my patience. Ma'am, I'm just doing my job. Rude Lady and her friend glare at me one last time and leave the store. Later, I found out from customer service 2 that Rude Lady had the receipt for the bananas on her. As in, it wasn't left at customer service when she checked out, but for some reason lied to me and said she didn't. She made a giant scene at the front of the store and backed up the line to get out for quite a while. Above all else, it's pretty simple. If I can clearly see that there are 3 items in front of me and the receipt only shows 1, of course I'll ask. If I let her go without verifying, I could have been in huge trouble with the asset protection manager. I wasn't trying to accuse anyone of theft. Like I said, most of the time, mistakes like this are cashier error. Does it bother you when an employee stops you and asks to see your receipt? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, Entitled Father Tries to Kick Me Out of University. My freshman year, I was roommates with a guy who had fairly well-off parents. Let's call him John. John was a child actor, and although he isn't one you'd recognize immediately, he's played side characters on big sitcoms and did some voice acting on some pretty popular shows. His parents hold him to very high expectations and were very strict with him and his acting, so when he got into our university, which is considered a top 10 university globally, His parents held him to that same standard, which for a now liberated young adult with almost no maturity, he did the exact opposite of everything he should have done. He slept all day, partied all night, never studied, didn't go to class, etc. Yet, when his parents would call him to check up on him, I would always be mentioned in the conversations. They needed to make sure that I was a good influence on their son. They would consistently ask if I was partying often or bringing girls over. Pretty much everything he was doing. They wanted to ensure that I wasn't doing it to keep their son safe. This goes on for months. Whenever his parents would call him during his midday nap and I'd be in between classes, I'd always hear him defending me to his parents, and he'd go beet red whenever I'd walk in and hear what they were saying about me over the phone. So I'd leave and wait until his call ended, since I knew he already felt embarrassed enough. I didn't really think of what they were saying either. I just thought it was ironic and told John afterwards that he didn't need to apologize since they weren't his thoughts. Around the end of the semester, John is told by his major department that he would likely flunk out of college if he did not ace the final exams in at least 2 of 4 of his classes, and that he would have to retake the other 2 regardless of how he did. Moreover, that he would lose a scholarship that paid a substantial amount of his tuition. He had to call his dad to tell him the bad news while I was on the top bunk of the bed studying, and his father is shouting so loud that I can hear him through John's phone with my earbuds in. Eventually, the question is asked if I had anything to do with John's bad grades, and before John can say anything, his dad determines that John was covering for me because I was a bad influence, and that since I was around him all the time, I was the reason he failed. He demanded to speak to me and wanted me to tell him everything I did to his son and how I corrupted him. And when John said that I didn't do anything, it only made him angrier. And after telling me that I would pay, he hung up. He already knew my name and of course where I lived, but I didn't think he would do anything with that information until I got a call from the university's Student Affairs Center telling me that John's father had requested access to my personal information through the student portal, basically a website with financial aid and enrollment info, and to change my passwords in case I thought that my data was at risk. I tell John that his dad tried to access my info, and of course he called his dad to ask him what the heck he was doing. Dad said that because John was failing, he was pulling John out of college and that he was coming in a few days to talk to me about my part in all of this. John asks him again why he asked the school for my info, and John's dad just hung up on him. I couldn't focus on all this at the time since I had my own exams to prep for. But as he said he would, he showed up as this fairly skinny, balding guy desperately trying to cover up his receding hairline by brushing up as much stringy blonde hair of his to the front of his head. I came down with the flu right before exams, so sadly I was forced to be in the room while John moved out, with his dad berating the both of us while I have my earbuds in and feel like I'm going to puke. John looks like he's going to cry because he doesn't want to leave, and I peek over my laptop to see his dad putting books and notes in the garbage and repeatedly asking John if he officially withdrew from the university until John just barked yes at him. John's dad then turns to me and says something along the lines of, "All right, now you." Again, I insist that I didn't do anything to John except live with him, and the dad demanded that because I turned his kid from an accomplished actor to a college dropout, I should withdraw from the university too. John is now yelling at his dad to leave me alone, and I'm telling him that there's no way I'm dropping out for his ego. He demands my laptop and portal login info, and I tell him that if he even so much as touches my laptop or me, I'm calling the police. This escalates to a straight-up shouting match among the 3 of us until the RA knocks on the door, warning us that if we don't quiet down, he will get campus security to come up and settle the issue. The dad quiets himself again and calmly asks me to withdraw again because it's only fair. I say no because again, I didn't do anything. There's a silence in the room as he approaches the edge of my bunk and he's glaring at me. I'm putting my earbuds in because chemistry won't study itself, and he asks again, gripping the railing and almost hissing the question. I say no, again, didn't do anything. He finally decides that I'm not worth talking to anymore and says that he'll tell my parents everything I did and that they would make me leave college if he couldn't. And with that, he left with John. I got a text from my dad about a day later and that both he and my mom basically told him and his wife to buzz off and never contact me again in far more eloquent terms. I then got a barrage of emails and texts and Facebook posts from the parents pretty much saying that I was at fault for ruining their son's life and that I don't deserve that seat at my university, so I blocked them. Every now and then my parents would get Facebook messages or emails. They were ignored. John angry reacted my graduation pics on Facebook a few months ago, so out of paranoia that they were spying on me through his account, I blocked him too. I hope he understands. Next we've got, how many more times will I need to quit? A few years ago, I started a job with a temp agency. Unfortunately, I had 5 days of work over the space of 5 months at minimum wage. It doesn't take a genius to know this wasn't enough to get by. I found myself another job with guaranteed minimum hours a week. As soon as I got this new job, I quit the temp agency. About a month later, the temp agency calls me out of the blue and asks if I can do another shift. I tell them I already quit, and they said they had no record of this, so I quit again. A few months later, I had another call from them and went through the same thing again. This time, I asked them to remove my contact details from their files. Over the space of 18 months, I had to quit about 6 times, asking for my contact info to be removed 5 times, and a friend decided to try and put a stop to the nuisance calls/messages by emailing them the same thing. I also blocked their number. About 3 months ago, I received a call from a withheld number. I answer and, as you guessed it, it was the temp agency. The conversation goes as follows. Nee. Hello? Temp agent. Hello, is this OP? Nee. It is. Who am I speaking to? Hi, this is temp agent from temp agency. Oh, hi temp agent. I believe I spoke to you last time? Yes, it's always me you speak to. We have a few shifts available. Do you want to take any? Me. As I told you last time. No, I quit. TA interrupts me. Oh, may I ask why not? As I was about to say, I already quit. Really? When? Why? As I tell you every time you call me. I quit over 2 years ago because I have another job. Can I speak to your superior? Sure, can I ask why? Because I want to tell them the same as what I tell you every time. Take me off your calling list. Temp agent gets her boss, and I explain the situation and tell her if I get one more call from them, I'll take legal action, as they have emails telling them I quit and to no longer contact me dating back 2 years. The boss asked if I knew anyone else who was interested in a job with them as a replacement. The first person who came to mind is well knowledged when it comes to legal stuff surrounding things like this. I said, oh, I know someone. Oh wait, he quit too. You want his number to harass him? I know he won't tolerate it. Edit. Forgot a part in the last call. Also, I haven't heard from them since, but judging by how they've been these past few years, I'm guessing I'm due another call soon. And we'll keep this updated as and when I do. So Karen, what did you think of today's stories? They were horrible. Horrible? How dare you? These were some of the best we've ever read. Oh, shut up, Mr. Reddit. It's ridiculous what people like myself have to go through. Dealing with stupid people like yourself and your subscribers. Look, Karen, you can say whatever you want about me, but don't you talk about my re-army. Re-army. Most of your viewers aren't even subscribed to your channel. 70% if I'm correct. Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Most of my viewers don't actually subscribe for some reason. It's because you're stupid, Mr. Reddit. No, I'm not. Alright guys, let's prove Karen wrong by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications. They're not going to listen to you. And if you'd like me, or Karen, what? To record a special message for you, come visit me on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below. Never! And join as a channel member today, and Karen will give you a special shout out in the next video. Like heck I will!